Good evening, everybody. If everybody could please take their seats. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Do we have any closed session reports?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's nothing to report out at this time.
Thank you. I would like to ask Dwight Thompson if he would come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you, Dwight. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Litzter,
Here.
Councilmember Kavanaugh, Councilmember Judge,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes,
Here.
Mayor Thomas.
Here. Are there any items for agenda review?
There are not.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move that all resolutions and ordinances presented tonight be read in title only and all further reading be waived.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
If any member of the city council may have a conflict of interest or any reason why that member must abstain from consideration of any matter on this agenda, he or she should declare so at this time. Seeing none.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, the first item on the agenda is item 1D1, presentation of a certificate of commendation as recipient of the Red Cross Certificate of Merit for Saving a Life. We are proud to join the Red Cross today to honor two of our community members who used American Red Cross life-saving skills to save a stranger's life. Please join us in welcoming American Red Cross Pacific Coast Board Member Rulong Ma and Central California Regional Executive Lori Wilson, who will introduce the recipients and present the certificates.
Thank you so much for having us. This really is an honor because saving a life is something that really is truly deserving of being recognized. Emergencies can happen at any time, so just to give you a little bit of background about what these awards are for. They can happen at any time in a grocery store, a parking lot, family wedding, hot day at the community center, and even at the office or inside your own home. But regardless of when and where they happen, emergency situations have one thing in common: a crowd of people standing around staring at a victim, wondering what to do. But in this case, we had two people who knew exactly what to do. So what we have today is two different certificates that we will do. These awards have been, the life-saving awards of the American Red Cross have been being given since 1911. So they have a 100-plus year history. So today we will be doing the Certificate of Merit. This is the oldest of the awards. It was established in 1911 to provide, and then in 1928 it was given a little bit of an evolution to be more fitting. It is bestowed on Red Cross trained individuals who have no obligation to respond, but do so anyway. The award recipients is a 100-plus year span of recognizing lifeguards, police, firefighters, and everyday citizens. And it has borne the signature of 17 presidents of the United States, including today's award recipient has President Joseph Biden's signature on it. In addition, we will be doing the Certificate of Extraordinary Personal Action. The Extraordinary Personal Action was created in the 1950s, and it is the second oldest of the life-saving awards. It is bestowed on individuals who lack Red Cross training, but nonetheless, they stepped up during a time of emergency to alleviate suffering. So these recipients truly embody the mission and values of the American Red Cross. And since 2018, the Red Cross is proud to announce we have awarded 2,949 individuals worldwide. And as a result, they have helped to save 1,481 lives. We're getting ready to add two more to that number right now. So I'm going to turn it over to Rulong. I'm going to be his Vanna, trying to keep everything going straight. And he will introduce the recipients.
Thank you, Lori. So today we will be presenting both a Certificate of Merit and a Certificate of Extraordinary Personal Action. Rebecca Armstrong, on behalf of American Red Cross, I present you with the Certificate of Extraordinary Personal Action awarded to individuals who step up in an emergency situation to help save or sustain a life. Rebecca, you exemplify the mission of the Red Cross to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies, and we commend you for your willingness to help others in distress. I also want to just add a little bit of note and color to this heroism from the two heroes from the community, right? So the next citation goes to Erin Huey, who's trained in American Red Cross Basic Life Support, and she used it to help save the life of her brother, who became unresponsive at her residence in Simi Valley. Erin was enjoying an early morning training session with her brother, John Huey, and it was conducted by the personal trainer, Rebecca Armstrong. After tossing around a medicine ball, John sat on the bench, stopped speaking, and his arms dropped to his side. Erin and Rebecca showed heroism. They determined he was unresponsive, dialed 911, brought John to safety on the ground, and quickly began CPR. And within minutes, the fire department arrived, and this culmination of actions saved John's life. So Erin, I present with you the American Red Cross Certificate of Merit. This is one of the highest awards given by the American Red Cross to an individual or team who saves or sustains life by using skills or knowledge learned in a Red Cross Training Services course. This action exemplifies the highest degree of concern of one human being to another who is in distress. And as Lori mentioned, this certificate bears the signatures of the honorary chairman of the Red Cross, the President of the United States, and the Red Cross chairman, Gail McGovern.
And would it be possible for them to get a picture with the city council members?
Well, I want to thank the Red Cross for coming in and presenting these awards to our community members. I actually went through a lot of that Red Cross training myself many years ago. And I actually twice in my lifetime have had a chance to use CPR. So it's worthwhile. Highly recommend it.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 1D2, presentation of a proclamation declaring the week of October 20 through 26, 2024 as Code Enforcement Officer Appreciation Week. Environmental Services Director Stratis Perils is here to present this item, and accepting the proclamation are Code Compliance Manager Jesus Salcido and Code Compliance Officer Mitchell Brewer.
I was going to ask Mitchell and Jesus to come on down if they're present. There they are. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Whereas the state of California designated the second week of October as Code Enforcement Officer Appreciation Week, and the city is celebrating Code Enforcement Officer Appreciation Week beginning October 20th, I'd like to read the following proclamation. Whereas code enforcement officers recognized as code compliance officers in the city of Simi Valley provide for the safety, health, and welfare of citizens through enforcement and education of local, state, and federal laws and ordinances ranging from zoning to life safety. And whereas code compliance officers have challenging and demanding roles and often do not receive recognition for the job they do in improving the quality of life for residents and businesses. And whereas code compliance officers are dedicated, highly qualified, and highly trained professionals who share the goals of preventing neighborhood deterioration, enhancing communities, ensuring safety, and preserving property values through knowledge, training, and application of housing, zoning, and nuisance laws. And whereas code compliance officers often have a highly visible role in the city of Simi Valley and regularly interact with the public and a variety of federal, state, county, and local officials. And whereas throughout the state of California, and specifically in the city of Simi Valley, code compliance officers continue to navigate new state laws in conjunction with local priorities to support businesses, provide community education, and facilitate dispute resolution. And whereas the city of Simi Valley wants to recognize and honor the code compliance officers that serve our community and acknowledge their role in leading the way to improve its quality of life. Now, therefore, the week of October 20th through October 26, 2024 is hereby proclaimed Code Compliance Officer Appreciation Week in the city of Simi Valley to encourage all citizens to join in recognizing and expressing their appreciation for the dedication and service by the individuals who serve as our Code Compliance Officer.
Thank you for the job you do. It's important for our quality of life in the city. And also thank you for never contacting me.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 2, public statements on appointments, special presentations, and informational reports. Mr. Mayor, we have no speakers for this item this evening. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3B1, economic development update, and Assistant City Manager Luis Garibay is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas, council members. Tonight, I do have the honor of providing an update on some of the economic development activity that has taken place here over the past few months. Now, it has been some time since you've received an update of this magnitude, so I will do my best to cover as much as I can, as quickly as I can. And then just a quick reminder, this is only my 5th week. Please, if I make a mistake somewhere along the way, please have a little grace. At least wait till week 6 to give me that harsh criticism. So that's all I ask. So back in March of 2024, the City Council adopted a comprehensive economic development strategic plan that focused around 3 core areas of focus. The first being something that was called an umbrella program that really focusing on developing a economic development marketing plan, and then also working with community partners to assist with business support efforts. The second core area was industry targeting, and this really focusing around business attraction, retention, and expansion efforts, and working with these partners to help provide additional services to our business community and leveraging some of our efforts through these partnerships. And last, in terms of land use and placemaking, there's this idea of a repositioning retail initiative, which helped repurpose underperforming sites, both on the retail and commercial front, to try to really track new investment to the community. So part of these umbrella programs included developing and maintaining strategic partnerships. Through the council's vision and leadership, the city has done a phenomenal job of collaborating with a variety of different partners to leverage resources to truly help our business community. From working with the EDC to launch a small business loan program, a low-interest small business loan program, or even a group like the Ventura County Civic Alliance that helps provide data to us as a city to be able to use for our business attraction efforts. The city continues to explore these partnerships to maximize our investment while still supporting our Simi Valley business community. Our film liaison, Heidi, has been hard at work helping location managers, scouts, and production teams quickly get the permits and the information that they need in order to film here in Simi Valley. And the city works very closely with Film Simi Valley and the Ventura County Film Commission to provide seamless assistance, whether you're filming here in the city or sometimes outside in the unincorporated parts of the county. Most recently, our friends at Extreme Makeover were in town to surprise a very lucky family, and that episode is slated to be shown as the season's finale episode on the upcoming season. And while permit and filming days aren't up back to what they were pre-strike, writer strike levels, staff is very optimistic that based on some of the activities and calls that we have received, that we will continue to grow in our film activity here in the city. One of the unique events that came through back for the second year was the Simi Film Fest. Over 1,000 attendees attended this event, this multi-day event. It featured films from 7 different countries. In February, the event organizers are launching a new Simi Music Video Fest, which will provide another great opportunity to help grow our film ecosystem here in Simi Valley. There was another really fun event that took place just a few weeks ago here at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, and that was the Metropolitan Fashion Week Closing Gala. This unique event garnered national and international attention, and while the cameras were rolling and thousands of pictures were being taken at this event, Simi Valley, as you can see, was branded and well represented through this. And this is when we talked about some of the partnerships that we have with organizations like Visit Simi Valley that helps the city maximize our investments through these other partnerships, through these other organizations. And it's events like these and the Simi Film Fest that have really supported our local hotel community. Over the past 3 months, hotel occupancy rates have been about 80%, with an average daily rate of about $149 per night, which is fairly strong for a market like ours, which isn't considered maybe more of a common tourism destination. Now, based on the research that was provided as part of the strategic plan, we use some of that information to fine-tune some of our marketing efforts. Our newest round of ads that are featured in both the LA Business Journal and the San Fernando Valley Business Journal really focused in on the bioscience businesses. There's over 50 bioscience companies within a 10-mile radius of Simi Valley, so we're better for a company that's looking to grow, expand, or relocate than to come here in the heart of this bioscience ecosystem here in Simi Valley. Our team has been, in the short time that I've been here, our team has been deeply engaged meeting with brokers, developers, and business property owners to focus on our business attraction, retention, and expansion efforts. Our entitlement team, led by Stratus and Sean, have been really doing a great job of finding creative ways to keep projects moving forward, which is key when we're really trying to help new businesses open. Our recent efforts have really been focusing on 2 key areas of new industrial product that are shown here. The Easy Street, as you may know, is home to the new Amazon and Starbucks facilities. They will soon be joined by a new manufacturing company that's relocating out of the San Fernando Valley that will create an additional 50 jobs in that area. In addition, there is a new medical device manufacturer, also from the San Fernando Valley, that's going to be relocating to Simi Valley at the facility, the 35,000 square foot facility located at 2125 Madero Road. As we've gotten an influx of new industrial development, as you can imagine, the vacancy rates have changed slightly. But that's all something that we anticipate and truly anticipate that number going down. as we head into 2025, really based on some of the activity and calls that we've taken, an interest in some of this brand-new industrial space. On the retail side, we've also seen a bump, primarily due, and you can see there in the first and second quarter of 2024. If you recall, that's when the Macy's closures first happening, so you can see the little bump there. As you can see too, it also is trending downward slightly. Staff right now, to help accelerate some of that space being occupied, is exploring the possibility of participating in the International Council of Shopping Centers conference, to really focus in on some of this larger retail space that's vacant, including like the old Macaroni Grill across the street, the Civic Center Plaza down the street, and then also, of course, the Simi Valley Town Center. The city continues to explore opportunities to support the revitalization and repurposing of some of these high vacancy areas throughout the city. This includes shopping centers, retail, and commercial office space. One of the more recent success stories was the Planning Commission recently approved the redevelopment of an existing 135,000 square foot office space off of Guardian Street. And this site will now be repurposed to build a new 180,000 square foot industrial facility. It really is showing the times of what the market need is right now from a job creation standpoint. In addition, our staff has been hard at work working through the Envision Simi Valley plan. I'm sure this isn't the first time you've heard about it, but the idea behind this is to really focus in on two key corridors there along Los Angeles Avenue and Tapo Street, and to find creative new housing, commercial, and recreational opportunities to bring new life along these major corridors. The specific plan was unanimously approved by the Planning Commission last month, and this is an item that will be coming before the City Council sometime in November. And last and not least, I don't know if you heard, but the Simi Valley Town Center was sold. Staff has had some initial conversations on different ways to bring new life to this center. Nothing has been finalized. Obviously, we're still very supportive of the new owners and trying to get them through the process and what they need. But as you can imagine, this is going to be a collaborative process that's going to involve the community, city staff, and obviously the leadership of City Council to make sure that the product that's ultimately built there really fits the needs of our residents here in Simi Valley. With that, I will go back to my original comment about being nice, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Councilmember Litster.
Luis, bravo. Well done for the first time. Actually, very well. We're looking forward to many more fun presentations. But I wanted to recognize, you mentioned several occurrences, and we actually have the founders of the Simi Film Festival happen to be seated in our audience. We have Joseph Metcalf and Katie Garibaldi, who happen to be here, and I don't know if you knew that. I just wanted to recognize them for being here, and thank you for what you did and are doing. And sitting behind him is Anthony Angelini, who was actually the impetus behind Simi Valley being represented in that fashion. He was the one that caused us to get all that step and repeat stuff that you showed. That was a great video. I just wanted to recognize him as well. Thank you for all the people making all of this possible. So.
Well, in regards to the fashion show, it wasn't just the step and repeat stuff. They brought us up. They talked about Simi Valley numerous times. We got definitely, that was a really great event, and so was the Film Fest. I was so happy to see that second year happen, and I see that continuing to happen. I think that's fantastic.
I'll just repeat some of what you said. Anthony is Visit Simi Valley, so he's doing a great job there. And the Film Fest was wonderful. Actually, the picture they showed, my best friend's son is the director in there. So I was like, oh my gosh, I know that guy. So that was really cool. And it was a great event, and everyone said so. So thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Despite what Councilwoman Litster said, you've been here for 5 weeks, and I expected the occupancy rate to be way down at this point. So there's a trial period, right?
If we could just cut him a little bit of slack.
All right,
He's
a
been
little
doing a
slack.
great job.
Excellent. Luis, thank you for the presentation. Well done.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is item 4, public statements. During this agenda item 4, the City Council will hear public statements from the first 10 persons who have submitted speaker cards. After the first 10 persons have spoken, subsequent persons who submitted speaker cards will be called on during agenda item number 6, which is a continuation of agenda item number 4. Agenda items 4 and 6 are times allotted for public statements on all items other than public hearings, appointments, and informational reports. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted. To speak for this public statements item 4 for a period of no more than 3 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community residence for the record. Mr. Mayor, unless you have any comments, we can begin public statements.
Please proceed.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Wilson. I'm a resident of Simi Valley. I'm also a member of the Simi Valley Cultural Commission. I'm here to talk in favor of the amphitheater. We just saw the economic drive. Number 3, placemaking. Let's create a great place. I've worked in the arts for more years than I'll admit here. And one of the things I do is run an outdoor amphitheater in Topanga. It's too small to attract people coming, performers who are performing at the Greek on Friday night and the Santa Barbara Bowl on Sunday night. But it could if it were a little larger. And we could because we're right here. We're right off the freeway and we're in a perfect place to do it. I believe that this amphitheater will be an attraction for people. It will be an attraction for guests to come into our region, and it will also be an attraction for arts organizations, local, national, regional, and artists. I also think the city already knows how to run a venue very well. We've already proven that with our cultural center. We can do this. This is not out of our grasp. We can create jobs. And finally, I want to say that I spent 4 years with the New West Symphony, and we were desperate to find an outdoor venue. Thousand Oaks tried to build one and looked into it, but it would be right up against the theater. The noise levels would be ridiculous, and we knew we just couldn't, it wouldn't work. It certainly wouldn't work for a symphony orchestra or for Shakespeare, which is what I do. So it would be a beautiful thing to have right here in my own new backyard, a beautiful amphitheater where residents could come and see local events, cultural events, multicultural events, and even people coming from all over the country and all over the world. Finally, I just want to say that the arts are an economic driver. Placemaking was one of our important things, and we could create a beautiful place here. So I think my timer might be wrong. My internal clock is telling me it's 3 minutes. Thank you all for your time. I want to thank the mayor and members of the city council and the very hardworking staff for all the work that's gone into this. Thank you so much.
Anthony Angelini.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council and staff. And thank you for those great comments earlier. I appreciate it. My name's Anthony Angelini. I'm the Director of Tourism for the Simi Valley Chamber Tourism Alliance, aka Visit Simi Valley. I'm speaking in my personal capacity, also in support of the amphitheater project before you this evening. A community that is not investing in its arts and its cultural institutions is a community in decline. Simi Valley has seen great success over the past year in its hospitality sector, with occupancy rates in the streak from June, July, August, and September reaching an all-time high. There are many factors to this: renewed and aggressive social media and advertising targeting, filming, weddings, sports tournaments, and many others. Some recent local cultural events like the Little House on the Prairie Festival, the Simi Film Fest, as mentioned earlier, and the Gala for Metropolitan Fashion Week, which highlighted to the outside world that Simi Valley can be a place that may become a bigger player in the world of high art and culture. Tourism is a unique sector of our economy. Those who support it, pay into it, and enjoy it are not our community members. They aren't our neighbors. None of your names will ever be on any of their ballots. But rather, they are our guests. And they have chosen to spend their valuable time in our community for whatever reason. They can always choose to spend their money elsewhere. And the goal of the tourism industry is to ensure that they do not. That is why I support the amphitheater project, because it elevates the cultural profile of Simi Valley, and it gives us one more thing we can highlight as a community. I'm not saying that someone is going to fly in from Wisconsin to see the Simi Valley Amphitheater, but I am saying that for those here, it provides one more thing to keep our guests in town. It elevates the city's profile. It gives us something that it can sell to our guests. It will drive revenue to restaurants, to hotels, and it will solve many other problems. For example, the one mentioned, in my office, we often find people looking to host smaller to mid-sized shows or events, something that's too big to hold in the back room at the junkyard, but not big enough for the Air Force One pavilion. And that would provide an answer to that question. The city is in need of this, and I hope you'll please consider moving forward at least with this plan. Thank you very much.
Jim King.
Thank you, Mayor Thomas, members of City Council and staff. My name is Jim King. I'm a resident of Simi Valley for nearly 50 years. Somehow I got old living here. I don't know how. I'm here to speak also in favor of some version of 9A. I heard Councilwoman Lister speak at my Rotary Club a while back about this project, and it immediately excited me. Now, I'm not here as an active member of the arts community, although I do enjoy the odd play at our Cultural Arts Center, and I really enjoy seeing our young people get engaged. But I'm here as an old, worn-out community member and worn-out Y director to talk a little bit about how the community can partner with the city to make special things happen. I'm reminded that I stood here at this podium about 20 years ago and talked to the council about the tapestry of the community and all of the organizations that are part of that. Of course, we have our government entities, the city council and the special districts, school district, park district, county government. We have partnerships between government agencies and the community. We can see this in the Senior Center and the Council on Aging. We see it in the Library and Friends of the Library, the arts community through the Cultural Arts Center and the Foundation, Youth Services. I was privileged to serve on Yes Board. And the city has leveraged nonprofits in this community over the years, including the Free Clinic, the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, Samaritan Center, youth sports and service clubs, with small amounts of city investment and large amounts of community investment and partnership. All of that to say that this is a community that loves to be engaged, and I've worked not only in this community, in the Conejo Valley as well. I want to draw special attention to the Johnson report on page 22, which talks about how engaged Simi Valley is in volunteering and fundraising. To that end, the staff have given you 3 recommendations, either to accept and file their report, to move forward and spend some money on planning, or to give staff other direction. Knowing how we do not like to tax and spend in the community, I'd like to recommend that you consider the third option, and in that case, try to continue the subcommittee, but also engage more community members, folks like me that would love to get involved in capital fundraising for a project like this, and maybe bring in some outside resources. I see my time is up, but thank you for your attention.
Dwight Thompson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Ms. City Manager, and Mr. City Attorney. I'm here, Dwight Thompson is a resident of Simi Valley, but more so is a resident in the Forest Hills community. Many of my neighbors are sitting back here in anticipation of us coming before you. So as you are all aware, I know I hand-delivered some letters to you. You received some via email and so forth. The residents at 4267 Roxbury went on the market and sold. And it was supposed to be, according to the people that had some insight, it was a woman that was going to move in with a divorcee with one of her 2 boys and so forth. The day it closed escrow, their 2 real estate agents contacted TMZ and notified them that an investor from up in Los Gatos bought the property and is planning on turning it into, this house happens to be where Poltergeist was filmed, and it's been a Simi icon since the early 80s, and they want to turn it back into the movie set standards and rent it out for people to come in and have their parties and shenanigans and so forth. The fact is our neighborhood is a dream neighborhood. You go through it, the kids are strolling the streets, neighbors are sitting out front, enjoying neighborhood barbecues or a glass of wine on a driveway or whatever. It's a wonderful dream neighborhood. And the things have just started to change very rapidly. We're used to somebody coming up every once in a while and taking photos a couple times a week. Has happened for the 26 years that I've been there. Now it's already, just since the sale, there's people there every day taking pictures outside and so forth. This is going to turn into an amusement park. This is going to turn into something that's going to go out of hand very quickly. The house sold for $1.28 million on October 4th. 2 doors down, the exact same model is now on the market. They listed it for $230,000 less, and they can't sell it. They've already had 2 price reductions, reducing another $100,000, and can't sell the house. So this is already affecting the value of our neighborhood. It's one of those things, and I know you're aware of it. You've asked staff to do some work on it. The urgency that we have is the owner is moving out by what I've been told on the 25th. And so the people are going to come in very quickly to start changing that home. And I feel we need to move very rapidly, need your help to keep it from turning in to an amusement park type in our residence, a business in our residence. Many years ago, the city hired a gentleman, a speaker by the name of Gordon Graham, to come do teaching to the city. And one of his mantras is, if it's predictable, it's preventable. This is predictable. Please help us prevent it. Thank you very much.
Daniel Porter.
Good evening. I'm Daniel Porter, 30-year resident of Central Simi Valley. Thank you for the opportunity to address the council. On Friday, I did a random check on my house ownership on the Ventura County Recorder's website. I was shocked when the most recent deed was not Dan and Sharon Porter, but the Boys and Girls Club of Hollywood, giving my property to the Boys and Girls Club of Hollywood. I immediately ordered a copy of the Boys and Girls Club deed. The clerk made a comment that this is a well-known fraud. That triggered me. I own my house, and who authorizes deed recording? That gives my house to someone else. When I opened the deed, I was shocked to see 19,000 parcels, including police officers, even a member of this council, listed on the deed. No legal description or boundaries. Some of the parcels are in Moore Park. The statute of limitations for major fraud in California is 4 years, and the deed is 5 years ago. I need to set my personal clock, so I contacted the Simi Valley Police Department and made a claim so that I could start my personal clock for 4 years to give me more time to deal with this. For those that discovered it a long time ago, so sad. The police took a report, but they don't determine fraud has taken place. Donnie Lecoq of the County Clerk, Division Manager, Ventura County Clerk, they do not, they don't determine intention, rights, or ownership sequence when they record a deed, only if it fits the format. The clerk only confirms the format meets the requirements. So the clerk only records documents and reports the sequence of recording to the courts. No ownership interest was clarified. The Boys and Girls Club did not know which properties, so they claimed a large number of properties. According to him, he confirmed my concerns were valid and only the court decides who has ownership rights. They aren't sure what rights they have, so they claimed 19,000 properties. That's a serious issue. I've talked to several firemen and police officers. They're concerned. And so options are each individual, 19,000, can make their own claim and try to sort it out individually, or the police department and the council can put pressure on the county clerk to clear this up, make them clarify what they have and what those ownership rights are. Because right now it's very vague. It says properties and easements. Easements to what? Your water. Everything that transmits water was also included. So all of your piping that you have on your balance sheet actually belongs to the Boys and Girls Club of Hollywood, according to the Ventura County Recorder. Thank you very much for your time. God bless you.
Joseph Metcalf.
Very difficult to follow that one. Very serious issue, obviously. But I'm here today to also, first of all, thank you, Council, for listening. And also, I'm addressing the residents of Simi Valley as well, who are here. I'm here to speak in favor also of the amphitheater. Naturally, I'm in the entertainment business. I have been for a long time, most of my life. And I love Simi Valley. Since the time that we've moved here, we've achieved a tremendous amount. We've managed to start a film festival, which has become incredibly successful. It's going to continue to grow, and we can see great projections coming forward from that. We've also established an orchestra. Not just one, but there are 3 that are actually have been established now because of this. And also there's a Simi Valley Community Choir, which is starting Tuesday week, which will be performing at the tree lighting ceremony. The reason why I'm interested in the amphitheater isn't just because it's entertainment. It's because one of the things that I saw when I first got into Simi Valley is there's a bleed coming here. People who have their money, they leave Simi Valley to go get their entertainment. And that is a travesty. It's something that we need to do something about. We're in a position right now, you're in a very key position to do something about this. We've proven that in Simi Valley that people locally are interested. You take a look at the Happy Face Fest that had somewhere between 3,000 to 4,000 people who dedicated a whole day just to hear 4 cover bands come out and sing. And it was a marvelous day, and it was very entertaining. But we haven't got a hub. We haven't got a destination, somewhere where people can actually come on a regular, consistent basis and know the level and quality that they're going to experience. We have a lot of acts that take place in Hollywood, and then they just travel straight through up to Santa Barbara, and there's not really a stopping venue in between. The closest place that we have is, of course, the Civic Plaza in Thousand Oaks. Very difficult to get through that. There is a demand for something which is going to create the same kind of environment, almost like a mini Hollywood Bowl. The positioning along the 118 corridor is absolutely paramount. If you've ever tried going to the Hollywood Bowl, 17,000 plus seats that are available there, try getting in on any given night where there's an event taking place. We don't have that same kind of issue, especially if it's just a nice cozy number, somewhere between 25 to 3,000 people, and it will be an intimate enough venue to be able to attract big acts. We also, I'm very mindful that Moore Park College has their one that's been talked about. I will say from a professional standpoint, you will not attract big venues there or big acts there because people don't want to go to a community college. It's not about a venue that is an education facility. It's about somewhere which is a staple for entertainment. Simi Valley can provide that. The other thing I'd just like to say, I mean, there's a lot more I could talk about, but this is a really key pivotal moment for you because the opportunity is right here, right now. 50 years from now, maybe none of us are going to be here. Probably very likely none of us are going to be here, but the generations ahead of us will get to experience your decisions by the actions that you take. And I think that you're not just making a decision for Simi Valley residents, you're making that decision for future generations. And I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Mike Lasher.
Good evening. I'm here to ask for the council's help tonight in helping determining why the Boys and Girls Club of Hollywood has filed quitclaim deeds on close to 19,000 properties here in Simi Valley. This isn't just me asking. If I look out in this audience, I don't know how many of you, well, we've got hands of people who are all seeing this as well, and I'm sure there are others who have not checked their property record, and they're going to see that right there at the most recent transaction on mine. It was dated from 2019. I don't look at my property records, so I just discovered it today. I would ask you, either through the city attorney's office or the city manager, to try and find out an answer as to why 19,000 of our city residents have been targeted with quitclaim deeds on their properties. That's all I have. Thank you. I'll give my time back to whoever needs it.
Mr. Mayor, that was the last speaker. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 4A, City Council comments regarding public statements.
All right, so before we go to that, I would like to ask our city manager to comment on a couple of those items, because I think we can, clarify some details on some of your concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I would like to address the 19,000 APNs that some of our speakers addressed this evening. So just a little bit of background. Staff did become aware of this earlier today and reached out to the district attorney's office to find out if there was some additional information that could be provided. And through our police department, I do actually have a summary, and I will go through that. County Council approved the recording of these parcels, and the recorder's office did record those documents, but the district attorney's office did look into this in 2023. So I'm just going to read through this. A lot of this goes back to about the 1800s, which is, I think, what creates a lot of this confusion. A claim for Rancho Simi, the 19,000 APNs, which make up Rancho Simi and were part of 96,000 acres, was filed with the Public Land Commission in 1852, pursuant to a Land Act of 1851, and grant was patented to Jose de la Guerra de Noriega in 1865. The Rancho Simi was later sold to the Philadelphia and California Petroleum Company. In 1887, a large portion of the rancho was acquired by the Land and Water Company. They subsequently began selling individual parcels of this land in and around 1889. And in 1968, the club inherited through the disposition of the estate of Bertha Alvord certain Simi rights, being rights of ways for roads and water pipes, Rancho Simi, Ventura County, California. As a result, the Boys and Girls Club obtained legal representation and filed the notice to preserve interest, as well as a quitclaim deed preserving their interest. The attorneys representing the Boys and Girls Club provided notice of their intent to the recorder's office. The recorder's office forwarded the notice to County Council for approval because it affected so many parcels, and County Council approved the recording, and the recorder's office recorded the documents. So ultimately, what was determined was there was no crime committed, and if there are concerns related to this, anyone that believes they are affected could contact Gresham, Savage, Nolan, and Tilden. But the case was closed by the attorney's office, by the district attorney's office. So I believe that there is the attorney's contact information on that form that's been circulating that includes the 19,000 parcel numbers. And so anyone who believes that they are affected can definitely contact that attorney. However, like I said, the district attorney's office did investigate this in 2023, and there was no crime committed, and this item has been closed by the district attorney's office. And then related to the quote-unquote poltergeist house, staff is preparing a staff report to come back to the city council for consideration and for direction in November. Many of the issues that come up with short-term vacation rentals are often covered by the city's code as it stands already. However, the council may wish to consider other options, and the staff will be including some of those options for consideration and direction in that staff report.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Lister.
So if I could just have clarification, I appreciate you sharing that. Manager Arterbright, I guess my question is, does it affect any of the city properties? And if, and is the city involved in any way, and should, and maybe this is really a question for our attorney, whether if there are multiple injured parties in the city, whether it is the city, does the case get reopened? Do they form a class action lawsuit? What are their recourse, their steps?
Well, according to the district attorney's office, there really is no injured party. When someone purchases a home, you don't receive mineral rights to that property. And that appears to be what this issue is really
So
concerning.
this is only regarding mineral rights. on the
Mineral and
pro-
water
noth-
rights, potentially.
Mineral and water rights, nothing else about their property.
Right. That's our understanding. Unless the city attorney wants to add anything, but.
So what I'm hearing, that's not the case. And so I guess the question I would have for our attorney is whether this is something that the city is able to weigh in on, or what is the?
I think that this is an issue that we just found out about this morning, and I don't think that the city council or city manager is in a position yet to weigh in. We have this preliminary statement and sort of analysis from the district attorney going back to 2023. We had a council meeting tonight, so we have not had time to digest it. And so at a minimum, if that's what council wants for the city manager and I to look into it, we absolutely can do that. But I don't think we're in a position to weigh in on what rights have been violated, if any, at this time.
Okay, I thank you. Thank you for that information, and I'm sure there'll be more conversation. Really, I wanted to say thank you for everyone who came forward in support of a wonderful opportunity here in our beautiful city. Although weighed with all the other frustrations, I know it's difficult to go from one to the other. But I do want to thank all of the parties that came forward and expressed their support for this possibility. And I know it will be a discussion at the end of tonight's meeting, and so we'll see where that all goes. But I just wanted to say thank you and appreciate your coming forward and registering your thoughts and comments. Thank you.
I will work with the district attorney's office to make something available.
Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to thank everybody that came out to speak tonight on our two sensitive topics, the quitclaim deeds and the Poltergeist house. Know that, yes, we have heard, yes, there is a concern. I think someone dutifully pointed out that I might be the city council person that is also on that list. In my own research in the afternoon, I personally am no longer concerned about the topic because it is a quitclaim against something that I didn't have rights over anyway. But I will continue to ask us to look into it. And the Poltergeist house, so we have code enforcement. It's Code Enforcement Week, I think. And so we will. I'm looking forward to staff's recommendations on what we can and should do about regulating activity in a neighborhood with a somewhat commercial entity, and that also opens up a larger question of how to deal vacation rentals in our city, and it'll expand the conversation. So ongoing, not putting you off, not pushing it forward, but we're going to do that. As far as the amphitheater support, thank you for everybody that came down and spoke. I think that there's some great nuggets of information that will inform our conversation later when that agenda item comes up, and it is greatly appreciated you have that enthusiasm for our community, and we'll see where it goes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. In regards to the property issue with the Boys and Girls Club, we are going to pursue this until we have a firm answer that we can share with you. So we literally have only known about it for hours. So I'm guessing we're probably going to be talking about it at the very next council meeting. In the meantime, if we do have something firm to report, maybe we can broadcast it out on social media. And You guys can't really be asking questions in the middle of a meeting like that, so, but I appreciate it. And I understand your concern, because it's exactly how I felt when I received it today. Poltergeist house, yeah, we're gonna see what we can do. We're gonna come up with some kind of a solution for that. And again, it will be an actual agenda item in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next item on the agenda is public hearings. This is the time for testimony on public hearings on the consideration of matters as presented on this agenda. Let the record show that due notice was given as required by law, and an affidavit to this effect is on file in the office of the City Clerk. All comments submitted by email have already been provided to the City Council, will be made part of the record. However, they will not be read by the City Clerk this evening. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted to speak for this public testimony, item 5, for a period of no more than 5 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community residence for the record. Comments should be limited to matters relevant to the item on the agenda and may be ruled out of order if comments are unrelated to the item. The reports of city staff relating to these matters shall be made part of the record of this meeting. If you challenge in court any of the City Council decisions made here tonight, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at this public hearing. The time within which judicial review must be sought is governed by California Code of Civil Procedure, Section 1094.6. Item 5A, a public hearing for consideration of a general plan amendment pre-screening review of GPPS-2024-0002 SK Madan, a request to the general plan land use designation from recreation commercial to industrial for a 3.95 acre commercially zoned parcel located north of Smith Road and east of Cunard Drive, and Deputy Environmental Services Director Sean Gibson and Associate Planner Neil Morissette are here to present this item.
Before we begin, are there any ex parte communications to report? Okay, go ahead, staff.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. Tonight's general plan pre-screening request is to allow authorization to proceed with future studies and applications to develop an industrial condominium building at the corner of Cunard Drive and Smith Road. The general plan pre-screening hearing is just the first step in the development process, which provides an applicant feedback on whether the request has merit for further study. It is important to note that the City Council is not approving a development project tonight, but if authorized to move forward, the applicant would return with a complete planning application and design drawings. First, I'd like to introduce our Associate Planner, Neil Morissette, with our presentation. I'm not sure if you've seen him here yet at City Council, but he's been our Associate Planner for a little around 2 years or so, and he's doing a wonderful job. So, Neil, take it away with the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and honorable City Council members. Tonight we are reviewing a request for a general plan pre-screen for one parcel at the corner of Cunard Drive and Smith Road. The applicant, SK Madden, is requesting a general plan pre-screening authorization to move forward with a formal application to change the general plan land use designation from recreation commercial to industrial. The project site is a 3.95 acre parcel located on the north side of Smith Road and east of Cunard Drive, and is accessible from both Cunard Drive and Smith Road. The site is currently vacant and surrounded by an industrial building to the north, a residence to the east, a vacant parcel to the south separated by Smith Road, and a vacant parcel to the west separated by Cunard Drive. The project is zoned commercial recreation and is located outside the valley floor, and therefore would be subject to the hillside performance standards. This is an aerial image of the project site looking east across the site. The project site is outlined in red. The current land use designation for the site is recreation commercial, which allows for the development of low-intensity recreational commercial activities such as drive-in theaters, golf courses, campgrounds, and other commercial recreation facilities. The request is to change the land use designation to industrial, which would allow the construction of an industrial building. The proposed change would be consistent with the industrial building to the north and the previous pre-screen request to the east that was reviewed on April 22nd of this year for a future movie studio expansion. It is shown on the map in red. The land use change to industrial would allow for a variety of manufacturing, service, technical research, and related business uses. The development and operation of the site would be conditioned to ensure compatibility with surrounding uses. If the general plan pre-screen is approved to proceed, the applicant will prepare their formal application for this conceptual proposal of an approximately 62,000 square foot industrial building. Further code amendments, a planned development permit, and a tentative parcel map will be required to develop the project site. The site plan on screen is a potential project for future review. It is not for review tonight. The following criteria is used when considering a pre-screen request. The proposed land use change to industrial will complement the commercial and industrial development surrounding the project site, including the future land use change of the adjacent property to the east from residential to industrial for the future movie studio expansion. Access to the site will be from Smith Road and Cooner Drive as part of the formal application. A traffic study will be submitted to ensure access to the project site will not adversely impact traffic circulation along Cooner Drive. Additionally, the formal application package will be required to comply with the development requirements of the Simi Valley Municipal Code. The proposed land use amendment would be compatible with the goals and policies of the general plan by locating industrial areas near major transportation routes, such as the 118 highway and Santa Susana Pass, and by providing a variety of office, industrial, and research and development uses that offer job opportunities. In the last 12 months, there has been no other amendment in the same general area that have been considered and denied, nor has there been new land use studies or policies. Based on the analysis required for a general plan pre-screen, staff recommends the City Council authorize applicant to file the general plan amendment as requested. This concludes the presentation, and we are available for questions.
Councilmember Litster.
Thank you, Mr. Morissette. Appreciate your presentation. I don't know the last time that we have had a recreation commercial piece of property come before us. I think in 6 years, this may be one of the first. I understand that's supposed to be everything from miniature golf to a drive-in movie theater to basically something that's low, that is recreational in nature and commercial. And I noticed on the map that there is others, maybe you can put it back up, there's another site that is also so designated, obviously right next to it, to the south. How likely is recreational commercial to be developed? And do we, I mean, I realize I'm asking for speculation. Is that part of the consideration that we can make in this discussion?
One of the main things that we look at in this site, especially in this pre-screen, is the site is currently vacant, and to note that the recreation commercial site that's below it is also vacant. To say whether or not that it'll be developed as recreation commercial in the near future, I don't know if we would be able to touch upon that, but we kind of look at as being vacant now and looking for opportunities to use the parcel.
I always did love those drive-in movie theaters. I guess you're not telling me it's coming back. Okay. My question, one of the requests too, if I'm not mistaken, is that one of the approval that'll be necessary is to amend the hillside performance standards. And which implies that there's a slope of the property and there's a certain, and so I guess my question is, what is the slope of the property? And how often do we amend these standards? I mean, does that play into this discussion?
At this stage with the general plan pre-screening, the thing that we look at is the potential project. Because there's no official project submitted, the project is completely conceptual. We wouldn't be able to see slopes, we wouldn't be able to see grading plans or any of that information to be able to gauge it. I think the staff report talks about that the potential of an amendment to the hillside performance standards.
Got it.
It's more so to note that it's in that area, it may affect the project in the future.
And Councilmember Lister, it's unlikely there's an amendment to the HPS coming up. It's more of a review of the hillside performance standards. Generally, that site has been previously graded and generally flat, so it's not likely, but that's one of the things we look at with every new project, how you comply with the HPS. But it's not a hillside per se.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that information. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Rose, did you have something?
Yes, for some reason the
Yeah.
button keeps going off. So I just had one question. So tonight we're looking at the potential of the idea of rezoning it. And I like the potential based on the supposed possible use of that. I like the concept of industrial condos. I think that that attracts small business, and so I'd be more encouraged to do that. I think I would just take a moment to say that uses that were dissimilar to that, once we turn it to industrial, would be things that I would be very skeptical of, but things that the proposed thing, if they actually submitted a plan towards that, I would be happy with that. But other industrial uses, I might not be.
However, once we change it to industrial, we can't control its usage. Just, that's my.
A plan would still have to come before
Still has
us.
to come before us, correct, but if it complies with industrial requirements, and we've already changed the zoning, that's all.
You still have to approve it.
Maybe I'm, correct.
Yeah. Those are all my questions, Mr. Mayor.
At this time, I would like to open the hearing. Does the applicant wish to be heard on the matter? Okay.
The city attorney and the audience here. I'm S.K. Madan. My wife is here. I'm an engineer, retired from City of Los Angeles after 35 years of being in the service. I've been retired for about 10 years. I had friends who worked with me from Simi Valley, used to drive from Simi Valley to City of Los Angeles. And I got to know the area long time ago, and we owned this property for about 33 years now, 32, 33 years. I do share your concern about commercial, recreational. I'm an engineer, I understand the uses and things like that. We tried to market the property, we tried to do our own some development. We had one gentleman broker, Ed Koenig. He listed the property a number of times to try to sell it. It became impossible to develop under the CR. There isn't much interest from anybody. We thought that we will try to do something, and whatever, we are a family of professionals, we understand economics and financial stuff very well. We could not justify it. So it's been almost 32 years, and finally, at least I've been friendly with the neighbors. I hope they will support me rather than oppose. But I request that they have done a wonderful job. I mean, I had no input to except that we filed the application to the planning department, and I really appreciate they have done a wonderful job in my favor to request the council to approve this application. If you noticed, just north of it is a industrial building adjoining north, and further is adjoining north is industrial building. And if you noticed and you saw the Google map, they don't have an inch to move this equipment or stuff. They are so fully compacted in there. And here is our parcel sitting vacant. I wish we had even leased it for all those years. For whatever reason, we didn't. So I hereby request you to let us proceed. I believe it will bring tax dollars, employment, and hopefully we will do condominiums, industrial, so that we can have some state-of-the-art development or businesses which will come and occupy those industrial units. With that, I'll request that we be allowed to proceed, and thank you for your time. I believe the adjoining parcels have been residential, they have been already, their application has been approved. That encouraged me to file the application. Thank you very much for your time and listening to me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any questions
I am
for the applicant from city council members?
happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Madan, first I want to apologize. My son is one of the people that would drive his car up and down the hills on your lot, and I scolded him severely for doing so.
To the contrary, some people complained about it. I said, I wish them luck. I only hope that they don't get injured.
Right.
but they're okay. I'm okay with it if they are enjoying the property.
He did it in a Prius, so I don't even understand that at all. But did you submit the application with the concept of putting the industrial condos up there, or were you just asking for the zone change to help you sell the property?
No, I saw some developments, condos being actually showed that in the presentation the gentleman had earlier, all these industrial buildings. And that gave me the idea that industrial condominiums would be a good location for it.
And so you're actually looking to hold on to the property and do the development, or are you just looking to entitle it and then maybe turn it to somebody else?
Well, that's a matter of, at the time, once we have all the approvals and all that, at that time we will try to see if it is within our reach.
Okay.
We do have the financial wherewithal to do the project. I mean, we have no issues about that.
It's one of those where when we have a good property owner, we'd like to keep a good property owner.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. And we would like to, most probably, we would like to build it and keep it as a rental. Or in that case, we have to build, and then if they are condominiums, we will, whatever we can't sell, we'll rent it.
excellent.
But
Thank
we
you.
like to rent them.
Thank you for bringing this to us. When there's vacant land, I think that we owe it to the city to try and do something with it. And so thank you for bringing us this.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Are there any members of the public wishing to be heard on this matter?
Mr. Mayor, we have a speaker card from Elisa Roberts, but didn't designate which public hearing item. It also may have been for public statements.
Okay.
And we have a card from the architect, but only available if we had any questions. No other speakers for this item.
Okay.
Well, I just want to say thank you for giving the history of what you've hoped to do with the property. I appreciate that clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Yep. We did try to explore the commercial recreation. In fact, I thought that was a good idea, but there were no takers. I mean, we could not really essentially make any economic sense out of it.
Understood.
So,
All right, thank you. Does staff have any follow-up?
Staff has no follow-up, but if you have any more questions, we'll try to address those.
Councilmember Judge.
I'm willing to make a motion if you're ready.
I think I need to close the hearing first. All right, we're just going to move along. The hearing is now closed. Any further comments or questions from city council members? I'm assuming no. I will now entertain a motion. How's that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to authorize GPPS-2024-002 for further processing as a formal general plan amendment.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, next public hearing item 5B, a public hearing to consider a request from Stowe Villas LLC for a planned development permit modification PD-S-2024-0004 to revise previously approved elevations and site improvements, a tentative map TT-2024-0002 to develop 16 condominium units, discharge and release of the Affordable Housing Agreement AHA-0-51 to eliminate the previously approved affordable housing incentives for a property located at 5496 East Los Angeles Avenue. Determination that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act and adoption of 2 resolutions. The reading of the resolutions is as follows. Resolution number 2024-42, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley approving a planned development permit modification PD-S-2024-0004 to revise previously approved elevations and site improvements, and a tentative map TT-2024-0002 to develop 16 condominium units for a property located at 5496 East Los Angeles Avenue, including a determination that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, and resolution number 2024-43, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley approving the discharge and release of the Affordable Housing Agreement AHA-0-51 for the Stowe Villas condominiums, including rescinding city financial assistance for eligible buyers. And Deputy Environmental Services Director Sean Gibson, Associate Planner Neil Morissette, and Management Analyst Daniel Franco are here to present this item.
Before we begin, are there any ex parte communications to report? Seeing none, staff, you can begin.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. Tonight's item is a request for some minor design alterations and to eliminate the Affordable Housing Agreement on the small 16-unit townhouse project at the southwest corner of Stowe Street and Los Angeles Avenue. Now, this project was originally approved in the mid-2000s, dealt with the Great Recession, ownership changes, COVID, and rising costs. The site was only partially built for several years, and currently the owner is working diligently to finish the project. However, in a nutshell, the 3 affordable units no longer pencil out for the developer, and our goal is to complete this project and fill the 16 units with new ownership instead of the site languishing. Our Associate Planner, Neil Morissette, has tonight's presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and honorable City Council members. Tonight we'll be reviewing a request for a planned development permit modification to revise previously approved elevations and site improvements, a tentative map to develop 16 condominium units, and the discharge and release of the Affordable Housing Agreement. The modification will include revisions to the building elevations, site plan, and landscaping. A new tentative map will replace the previously expired map, and the previously approved Affordable Housing Agreement will be discharged and released. The project is located on Los Angeles Avenue at the southwest corner of Los Angeles Avenue and Stowe Street. The 1.35-acre site is currently under construction and is surrounded by existing single-family and multifamily residential development. The project was originally approved in 2007 and was set to expire 3 years from the date of their approval on December 10th, 2010. However, with time extensions granted by the state, the project and map expiration dates were extended to 2017. In 2017, ownership of the project changed, and a 3-year administrative time extension was approved, extending the project's expiration date to 2020. In 2019, ownership changed again, and construction began later that year, which vested the planned development permit. However, the tentative map was not recorded and expired on December 10th, 2020. A new application for a planned development modification, a new tentative parcel map, and the discharge and release of the affordable housing agreement was filed in 2024. This is a view of the site from Los Angeles Avenue looking south. The project is now closer to completion, with the majority of the construction having been completed, including the construction of all 16 units. All that remains is the finishing of the trash enclosure, patio walls, installation of landscaping, paving, and some other site improvements. The approved project is accessed by driveways on both Los Angeles Avenue and Stowe Street. A total of 53 parking spaces are provided, including 32 garage spaces and 21 uncovered guest spaces. There are a total of 4 buildings, each containing 4 two-story townhomes with 3 bedrooms. The proposed planned development permit modification will alter the approved site plan with the following changes. Redesign of the enriched parkway along Los Angeles Avenue to gain approximately 376 square feet of landscaping due to the removal of the affordable housing agreement concession. Alterations to the hardscape on northernmost units to accommodate for landscaping square footage. Remove decorative concrete on walkways, patio areas, parking lot, and parking driveway entrances. The Planning Commission recommended this amendment with the condition that a minimum 10-foot wide stamped concrete ribbon be included at each entryway. This slide shows the proposed site plan with all modifications and Planning Commission recommendations. The yellow areas show the locations of enriched landscaping that is being altered to include more landscape area, less hardscape area, and changes to trees and shrubs. The red areas show the location of patio areas that are being altered to remove stamped concrete. The orange areas show the location of the entryways that will include reduced stamped concrete as recommended by the Planning Commission. The approved townhome buildings are designed in a Mediterranean style with Clay S-style roofs, decorative wrought iron balcony railings, and archway details, and include stucco walls with stone veneer treatments. The modification proposes to eliminate the veneer treatments and replace them with matching stucco. The Planning Commission denied this amendment with a condition to remove the stone veneer from the trash enclosure and recommended all stone veneer to remain as shown on approved building elevations per PD-S-964. The initial project was subject to an affordable housing agreement, which deed restricted 3 of the units to be reserved for moderate income households. The agreement established the sale price of the affordable units, but the developer has indicated that this price is no longer financially feasible for the project. On March 18th, 2024, the applicant requested to terminate the affordable housing agreement. Staff has determined that removing these units from the city's affordable housing inventory will not adversely impact the city's compliance with RHNA. As moderate income units are currently experiencing the highest level, having the greatest amount of construction activity, inclusive of accessory dwelling units. No net loss will be triggered as there is no rezoning required. From an affordable housing perspective, the city prefers to see the units completed and added to the housing inventory rather than face further delays in construction or risk the project being abandoned due to financial challenges affecting the applicant and the project. As part of the discharge and release of the Affordable Housing Agreement, the project is no longer eligible for the two development incentives to reduce parkway landscape and reduction of replacement tree sizes. With the proposed design changes, the applicant identified additional landscaping along Los Angeles Avenue, and the applicant is required to mitigate the full value of the loss of mature trees originally on site by means of upsizing proposed trees to 48-inch box minimum or pay fees into the city's tree mitigation fund. In addition, no funds were pre-distributed to the applicant or prospective owners, so no reimbursement back to the city is necessary. The Planning Commission recommends the City Council adopt Resolution number 2024-42, approving Plan Development Permit PD-S-2024-0004 and tentative map number TT-2024-0002 in a determination that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA. And staff recommends the City Council adopt Resolution 2024-43 for the discharge and release of the Affordable Housing Agreement, AHA 0-51. This concludes staff presentation, and we are available for questions.
Questions from council for staff? Councilmember Litster.
This property has developed and languished for years. I've had several people, I'm sure you have too, asked about status and what is going on, et cetera. So that was very interesting to get this entire history. My question, and I read through the planning report about et cetera, and I'm actually, I completely concur that it's best to get this on the market than to worry about getting a few affordable units and delaying the process. But I guess my real question is, are the unit, I'm sure that they've been inspected. As I drove by, I worried about rain damage and just the variety of things because they seem so open to the elements for so long. Do we have assurance that things have all been rectified and this can actually get to the market soon? Do we know that, or maybe that's not germane to this discussion, but it's a curiosity.
There's the site's currently being inspected by our inspectors, particularly since they've re-upped their construction the past several months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So those things are looked at. There's still a ways ago. You could actually ask that question to the applicant tonight as far as where they're at with those improvements. There's still going to be a little bit of lag time. The recording the final tentative map will take a little bit of time. There will be a final city council action as a consent item to accept that final map a few months out. So they'll still be unoccupied for a little bit, but this will be a big step.
Got it. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to open the hearing. Does the applicant wish to be heard?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. Good evening, residents for the city of Simi Valley. My name is Suraj. I represent the applicant. The applicant is here with us. His name is Nader. I'm a civil engineer and the contractor that I've been assigned to this project, and it's been a little bit challenging, to say the least. I've been dealing with plans since 2007, revision 2019, and I've been working very closely with the Planning Commission, with Neil and with Sean, and we are covering some ground on this project. I prepared a small presentation I would like to show it to you to discuss a little bit of the challenges that we're having and the reason why we are proposing to eliminate the low-income housing and try to finish this project. I'll give you a clear update on the status and discuss all the details and answer your questions after the presentation. Let's get started. So first, so delays came for this project because of multiple reasons. The first one that we could never forecast is the illness of the previous general contractor. He suffered from cancer and he had to step away. He stopped responding to anything. We had to figure out the as-built plans. We had to go through a lot of hassle to put everything together and get it back on track. And the second issue is the financial setbacks. As you can imagine, we'll dive into them a little bit later with a presentation to describe them in details. And the construction cost escalated for the material, labor, so on and so forth, and inflation. You can never predict this increase of and this steep inflation when it comes to purchasing material. Typically in a project, you forecast 10% increase over the budget, but what we're dealing with here is tremendously more. And disturbance due to the COVID, we had a lot of issues with people not showing up to work, people being sick, projects stopping, nobody transporting things, and this became a second priority after the COVID. And second, I'm not gonna go through this in details, but basically what I'm trying to state is the lumber price increased by more than 300%. You can figure it out during COVID, everybody was complaining about it all over. If you were trying to do a small home project during COVID and you went to Home Depot, you can see a spike in the prices. The second item here that increased in price, around 60% in the steel. Copper PVC also had an increase around 40 to 50%. Concrete prices have increased approximately 20 to 30%. Used to buy the truck of concrete for around $1,400. Now you're looking at $1,700 at least. And also, I would like to bring up the wages increased tremendously. Everybody that wanted to show up to the project and work during COVID, they asked for more money, and then this is expected. And the inflation, to say the least. Financial viability concern is the affordable requirement set before these unforeseen economic challenges is no longer financially sustainable. If we were to sell it at this price, we will suffer tremendous losses. We'll have to increase the price of the other units, and that will make it very hard for applicants to apply for it with the existing interest rates. So we're trying to get it occupied. We're all on the same page. I can show you how much work we did in the last period, but you'll sense our motivation to get this project done. The second slide here we have is, despite everything and the significant resources to this development, we are still powering through it. We did cover a lot of ground. I'll show you here that we did, these are the recommendations that we have. Neil went over them. And most importantly, I want to point out the second slide that we have here is the benefit of these modifications. So by increasing the landscape, there are several benefits for this project. One of them is the runoff water. It decreases and becomes more absorbent when you have plants, and then anything that would go to the street will get absorbed in the project site, which will decrease the amount of flow of the water all over the city. Another aspect is the beauty of the landscape that we did all across. It will decrease the noise, have a lot of other benefits in the air quality and so on and so forth. And we chose to waive the stone veneer for a lot of good reasons. One of them is we already have stucco finish, and this is time consuming. If the planning commission and the city is still insisting on it, we can entertain somewhere halfway where we provide a little bit of areas that are very sensitive for the public point of view, but we would like to waive it because we are running out of time. We're trying to get it occupied, and then this is very time-consuming activity that will take us months on end. We still have to figure out if the previous approved product is still available in the market, and if not, we have to submit it to the Planning Commission and get their approval on it, and then in the future, stone veneer is harder to maintain, harder to wash. If something gets missing, it's harder to replace too. Also, the affordable housing, we mentioned it. This is a small timeline that I put together here. Since September, I walked into this project. It was a complete nightmare, and then we put in a lot of work to bring it to where it is right now. I'll show you a few pictures in the end. We started with the interior work. We figured out half of it. It's not complete. We had a couple of leaks. So we started by fixing the roof, go down, finding out more leaks and fixing a little bit of the issues inside. We finished the flooring. We've put in the drywall. We painted. The kitchens are installed since September. We did anything that has to do with underground. We recently hit a very, very, very big milestone, which is paving the site. So now you have asphalt all over the areas, and then we're trying to hold off on the areas that are still in question to coordinate it with the planning after your final decision this evening. And the city received the incompleteness letter on April. We resubmitted the plans, which was very hard to do because we had various sets. We're trying to put everything together and give you a complete submittal. And I appreciate Neil's patience and Sean's patience in this aspect because they helped us to figure out what was approved in 2007 and where we're at right now, and then piece it together. The targeted power date, finally Edison came by about 2 weeks ago. They tested all the underground conduits, which is a big issue before Edison shows up to the project. Everything checks off. We have a targeted power day, which is the middle of November, to get power for the project. By that being said, the city inspector have reviewed it thoroughly, and then he condemns this project very close to completion. That way, he released it to Edison, and Edison came to the project, tested the conduits, everything checks. And target finish date is the end of December. We're working tirelessly on this. I can't express for you how many hours we have put into it in the past year, trying to figure out the existing plans, so on and so forth. But we're here today, and we wish we get your blessing to get this to the final step. This is where it was. You can see here how hard it was because we were trying to pave everything and then set underground utilities. We had to dig a few trenches more than once or 2 or 3 times. This is not because of our lack of coordination. This is because we have a lot of unforeseen things, a lot of things that have been buried, no as-built plans, and many other reasons that pushed us to get delayed. But here we are, very close to completion. You see here all the patio walls are in place. We have the trenches for the underground irrigation. We have put in the metal fences, and then we're working on the privacy walls between the tenants to make it comfortable for them to sit outside, and we're here to bring this to an end. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you very much for your attention.
Any questions of the applicant from City Council? Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Thank you. It's real quick. Can you go back just one slide, please? There, all the brick walls, are those going to be plastered to match the house or to match the
Absolutely.
building?
We have 4 colors for the building. If you can see the one on the right, slightly brown, we have the exact color for the stucco. That's what we're recommending to match the stucco for the
Okay.
existing building.
And the stone would be on the building that we're looking at the front of on the one on the right, but there can be landscaping or patio in there instead?
Correct. So the stone veneer was originally proposed on the building itself and on the patio walls.
Okay.
But as you see, the contractor previously didn't work as closely with the planning or check the plans thoroughly to see that it was supposed to go on some of these walls, and they went ahead and stuccoed it. Now we'll have to work a little bit harder to remove part of the stucco if you want to put stone veneer, because you want something to be attached to it. So you have to scratch it a little bit, and then it requires more work and more time to put stone veneers on the back walls as well.
Okay. So the brick walls will be plastered the same color or
Yes.
accent color, and then the dirt in front of them, are those going to be landscaped?
Absolutely. This is just temporary.
That's what I
It's-
thought. No, I want to make sure that's my vision. I
Yes.
wanted to make sure it was the same as yours.
Your
Okay.
vision is on point. We've been working with an architect that's been very dedicated. He proposed a lot of good suggestions for this project with a lot of trees that were called off that are not available. And we worked to get the city actually have a special consultant. We worked very closely with them to make sure that all what we're selecting will work here in the city, is also drought tolerant.
I was
and
just
so
going
on
to
and so
say,
forth.
right.
So we're on point when it comes to coordinating the landscape.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Lister.
Actually, Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes has been pushing his button first, so you go. So I defer to you, and then I'll go. That's fine. I know you were chomping at the bit.
Well, thank you, Councilwoman Lister. I tried to go back and find the people that were originally involved in the plan check, but apparently it's so long ago everybody's dead. No one actually knows that. Thank you for bringing the project forward. Thank you for working so hard to get it done. I did take the opportunity of watching the entire Planning Commission version of this. The only thing that you're bringing forward to us today that was different from the Planning Commission recommendation seems to be the stone veneer. And Commissioner Mann had an observation that I'm also in line with, and I want to then ask this question. His observation was, if you can see it from the street, we would like to have an aesthetic. With the stone veneer, is any of that visible from the street, or just after you enter into the property can you see it?
So to answer your question, honestly, it is a little bit of both.
Okay.
Majority of the places where you can see it from the street, we do have one particular elevation that shows it. I don't have it on me right now, but I'm sure we can negotiate this
With the increased
planning.
landscaping, it might be less
Yes,
likely
this is
that
what
we
I was
can
going
see
to
it.
point out. So with the increased landscaping, you don't see much of it from Los Angeles Street, but you will see a little bit from Stowe Street because there's not much parkway area to put plants in that area. So we have a couple of corners. I think what the planning committee here, you see it, if you want to go slightly back, Neil, you're on point. So you see on the back building, it was not done. This is the original building itself. Just gonna try to point out the bottom right elevation. That one, there is a little bit of it visible from Los Angeles Street. And here you have screening for the AC where you see the 3 columns with the stone veneer on the bottom. And to the right-hand side is just for static. And if you want to go to another elevation, if you don't mind.
I was going to clarify, there's 4 different building elevations, and they all have varying amounts of stone veneer that they had required. They're not necessarily all consistent. The building that's on the corner of Stowe Street and Los Angeles Avenue probably has the most stone veneer required.
Okay.
So answering your question, all in all, yes, some areas have it. Most of the areas will be screened by landscape. The most area that will be visible for the public will be probably Stowe Street and that corner intersection.
So my only comment is, if we were to grant the removal or the noncompliance with the stone veneer, that you would do as much as possible to disguise with landscaping that to make it more aesthetic from the street. And then just an overall comment, sympathetic, want you to be successful, want this project to get done, but with all of the things that I'm thinking about include your problems and what happened to you are not our problems to fix, but I do appreciate the amount of candor and work and effort that you've been working with staff and so on to make sure that we can bring this to a completion that satisfies both parties. So thank you for that. And I don't have any other questions.
So I just want to follow up on this discussion. My understanding that you're saying the previous owner, before you acquired the property, went ahead and stuccoed everything as opposed to following the plans, which were to have that rock face.
It's partially our fault because the previous contractor missed it and then he went forward and stuck with the entire thing. Now it would take a little bit more work. So it was done with this owner, with the previous
With this owner,
contractor.
with a
that's no
different
longer-
contractor. I
Correct.
understand. Okay.
And if you don't mind, I'd just like to answer. I'm truly a believer that it's not the city's fault, but a lot of things from inspector, from the investor perspective, you can never plan these. And then the city is also, should be, in my opinion, a little bit concerned about the occupancy of this building because we've been having trouble deterring people from trying to walk all over the job site. From security perspective, we're trying not to keep it vacant. We're trying to get it occupied in the fastest time possible for security, for aesthetic, for any other thing that might have, because the homelessness issue has been an issue that we're dealing with at the project. Our security is staying up all night trying to deter this guy from walking in. We recently had a little issue with the fence. A little bit of it was trying to be burnt in the past few days. So we're trying our best just to bring it to an end with your assistance, and hopefully you can help us and understand where we're coming from to put this project an end.
And I do think there is many people anxious to see it completed and occupied. Just maybe this is a question for the staff. In your slide, you showed that there was a April of 24, a letter of incompleteness was received. What were some of the issues that were contained there, and have they been addressed? Is that towards, I mean, are we all square with that? Is that?
Yes, that's the initial application. It's a letter of incompleteness. Since that time, the applicant was deemed complete, therefore the hearing was scheduled.
100%. Okay, I just assumed that was the case. I just wondered if there was anything still pending. Okay, apologize for the ignorance. So if I understand where we stand right now, the Planning Commission has recommended the removal of the affordability, et cetera, but they've suggested they still want the stone veneer in the front, not in the exterior. Is that accurate statement?
The Planning Commission recommended that the stone veneer be removed from the trash enclosure and the outbuildings, but remain on the main building elevations. And as Neil pointed out, there's a little bit of variety of building elevations, so some have more, some have less.
And is that interior and posterior, exterior? It's
Correct.
both front and back.
The Planning Commission recommended that as per the original approved plans, which was the PD-S 964, which are these elevations that are presented now, the Planning Commission was recommending to keep all the stone veneer on the buildings as previously approved, with the exception of removing it only from the trash enclosure. So that would be the only removal of stone veneer, was what they recommended.
And let me just ask the applicant then a question. In your estimation, we understand your request, you'd like it removed entirely. What does that add to timing to comply with that stone finishing?
The first challenge will be trying to get the same exact called out in the specifications that was approved in 2007, finding that material. If not, we have to propose something different. There are a few different applications that we can propose that might be faster. Something that is small panel, it's easier to install. That might be cutting down the labor time and still meeting some aesthetic. So we'll have to first find the item, second, bring it to planning and find if this is approved alternative, if we can find it. And from what was approved, this style of stone veneer, it's very time intensive because some of these don't come all together pieced. You have to put them in one by one. So we're looking at least if we have 6 to 8 man crew, we're looking at least to just match this building for 1 month of work on this stone veneer, given that the old material is really available at the market right now. So this is what is making us shy away from it, the availability of the material, the time that it will require, the cost, and the maintenance. So 4 elements that we're deviating from by just eliminating this item.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions for me? Thank you for taking the time to listen to us tonight.
Are there any members of the public wishing to be heard on this matter?
Mr. Mayor, we have no public testimony for this item.
Okay. Does staff desire to respond to any of the comments?
Yes, Mayor Thomas, if the city council desired the, on page 15 of the staff report, condition star 18, A18 was the Planning Commission added condition to maintain a stone veneer if the, per the applicant's request, if the city wanted, if the city council decided to not require the stone veneer, the A18A would basically A18-A would be eliminated. Other options is if the city council would want the applicant to work with staff to maybe reduce some of the stone veneer on the building in appropriate locations, or reduce the quantity of it. Just looking at the top elevation on the screen there's a great number of stone on that lower elevation. It could be reduced if you want to just reach a compromise, but I'll defer to city council on what action they would like to take.
Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes. Oh, no? Councilmember Judge.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we could basically up here say, because I kind of agree, I want this project done. I drive by it every day. It's really irritating me over the last 12 years, 13 years, whatever it's been. What if we just made a requirement for the veneer to be on, like I think one of the planning commissioners said, on the street-facing sides? And just push this through, get this done.
If I may, I talked to two of our planning commissioners, and I said, what was your thinking, what was your goal? And it was to make it presentable, aesthetic from the street. And on anything on the inside, it's my impression that just increases or decreases the value of the property, and that's not for us to try and determine for the developer to if they don't want to put stone veneer where it's not visible. I don't have a problem with that, and frankly, because I actually know the hassle and the problem of trying to find individual stone veneer versus an applique. An applique is going to look cheap anyway. Cover it up with some landscaping as best you can. I think that removing that stonework entirely, I'm actually okay with to move this on, because I think that aside from the work itself, the presenting with staff or a alternative and then having that come back to us or planning is just further delay. And I don't think I looked at the pieces that would be facing the street, and they're minimal. And just removing it all together tends to say, okay, let's get her done.
I'm in complete agreement with that also. I think their landscaping changes will be enough to cover what they have, and so go from there.
Can I ask staff real quick? Sean, you will still be working with the landscaping?
Neil, I believe our landscape plan is still out for consultant review, or is it complete?
So right now, the landscape plan is conceptual, so they will have to submit a final landscape plan with us. So they'll continue to work with us to make sure that landscaping is done appropriately.
Okay, good. So we'll have a secondary look at, you will have a secondary look at it and be able to approve or not. Okay, and it won't have to come back to council. All right, thank you.
Just my personal opinion, when I saw the actual photos of the current condition of the site, I didn't have a sense of, gosh, there's something missing. I thought they looked just fine. So I think no more response from staff? Or
If the consensus is to allow the stone to be eliminated altogether, we would modify condition 18A to not require the stone veneer be re-added. So we'll clean up that condition if that's the direction.
Okay. On that case, the hearing is now closed. Any further comments or questions from city council members?
I will make a motion if you're ready. Or,
In the public. Okay. Yeah, I will now entertain a motion.
Sure.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll move to adopt resolution number 2024-42, approving plan development permit number PDS-2024-0004 and tentative map TT-2024-002, and adopt resolution number 2024-43, approving discharge and release of the affordable housing agreement and not requiring the stone veneer.
Second.
Is that Is that motion? Okay. Okay.
Did you say and AHA-0-51?
Modification, no, but he said and to eliminate.
And to eliminate, okay.
Right, okay. We had a second?
I seconded.
Yeah, okay. Call for a vote?
The motion passes unanimously.
It will be exciting to get that one done.
All right. Consent calendar, where's my, oh. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 7, the consent calendar, and there are 2 resolutions for your consideration this evening. Consent 7, resolution number 2024-44, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley approving acceptance of grant funds and the execution of a grant agreement and any amendments thereto from the fiscal year 2024-25 State of California Department of Alcohol Beverage Control, ABC, ABC-0TS Grant Program. And consent item 8, resolution number 2024-45, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley regarding the conflict of interest codes and adopting and incorporating by reference the Fair Political Practices Commission Standards Conflict of Interest Code and rescinding resolution number 2022-62.
Move consent?
Councilmember Lidster.
I warned the mayor about this. This is just a quick discussion, and then item 6 is basically to purchase 4 electric minibuses, vans. And if I read it correctly, it happens within 30 days of our placing basically the order. It will happen. And my question, I noticed that item 2, item 4, they all have to do with grant monies received for charging stations, electric, et cetera. And so I guess my question is, and maybe these all need to be lumped together, and that's why if we can just quickly have this question answered before we move the whole calendar. Do we have charging stations in place right now for those 4 vehicles that we're acquiring? And if not, where will they be placed? And do we have the authorization for the electric load requirements, knowing how SCE is about load, that to actually have that in place before we order these vehicles?
Staff is working to obtain portable charging stations to meet the immediate need upon the delivery of the electric buses. And Ron, did you want to add anything further to that? Ben? No? Okay.
And there's no special load requirements that we should be concerned about because they're portable? And there's no difficulty getting them? I guess my question is, are we going to have vehicles sitting around, no way to charge them for a while?
I apologize. I think if we're going to be
Portable stations
discussing
run
it, we
on
probably
good old
need to pull
diesel.
it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if we're going to discuss the items.
Item 6 pulled, if that's all right.
She did.
Oh, not yet.
No, she didn't ask for it.
I didn't. I'm sorry. I was asking about it, but I didn't officially say maybe pull item 6. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Ford. I'd like to pull item 6, so you can answer that.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
So I don't know too much about like the power. What I do know is the portable chargers. We're going to, it's kind of like the level 2 chargers, what they are. So they're not like the level 3. Level 3 is like charging the heavy duty buses. Level 2 is like your Teslas, your smaller mini cars. So we're going to upgrade a couple of our existing plugs, for lack of a better word. So we're going to like from 140 kilowatts to like 240, give or take.
Okay.
Yeah, so you basically just can plug them in the walls and
Got it.
charge the vehicles, and they'll be like.
Okay, so we're
couple
not
hours.
talking a heavy load.
Yeah, it's a small minivan, so they don't take much battery charge. It's probably talking a few hours, and then you're good.
Okay, and okay, thank you.
Sure.
That's fair enough. I just was kind of curious with all the other electrical going, but that's fine. Thank you.
I'll move the consent calendar then? Yes. I move the consent calendar.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 8A, second reading of ordinance number 1360, approving a change of zone classification Z-S-2022-0003 from commercial plant development CPD and residential medium density RM to residential high density RH for property located at 1845 Oak Road, and adoption of a mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program. The reading of the ordinance is as follows. Ordinance number 1360, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley approving a change of zone classification Z-S-2022-0003 from commercial plant development CPD and residential medium density RM to residential high density RH for property located at 1845 Oak Road, and adoption of a mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt
Second.
ordinance 1360.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 9A, request for direction from the City Council on the proposed amphitheater at the Simi Valley Civic Center, and Assistant City Manager Luis Garibay is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and council members. On February 12th, 2024, the city approved an agreement with C.H. Johnson Consulting to prepare a feasibility study on the proposed Simi Valley Amphitheater here at the Civic Center area. The study assessed the project viability from multiple angles, including market demand, facility size, and financial sustainability. Here to provide a presentation on the feasibility study is Charlie Johnson, president of C.H. Johnson Consulting. Charlie, are you there?
I think we need to unmute.
That's Heidi.
I tried this earlier and it worked.
Charlie, Ryan, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Do you know if Charles is available?
I just texted him. Let me give him a call.
Okay, great. We'll stand by just another minute.
He didn't answer. 10:30 here, and we just texted an hour ago. You try again.
Yeah, I think if they don't come on by 11, I think it's
Charlie,
fair
it's
for
on.
us.
We're on.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Way past your bedtime. So sorry.
Heidi, I hear the live, but I don't hear the rest of the room.
Charlie, can you hear us?
Are we ready to proceed?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name's Charlie Johnson, president of Johnson Consulting, and I'm here with Ryan Fetterman, and we're honored to be here and have the pleasure of serving you on this. What we'd like to do is, as Ryan advances the slide, provide kind of an overview of what we've accomplished and also our conclusions. I think that the guiding questions are what we'll answer today. And I think I'd like to start with just a real quick summarization. You know, beautiful community. We really are very happy to have been able to understand and learn your market. I think one of the findings we have is an outstanding outdoor recreation, but it was built as a bedroom community, and it's missing an overlay of cultural and recreational amenities, indoor type of products, as well as outdoor types of products. And I think there's a whole array of projects that will get built over the
I don't
course of
think they
time.
hear you right now.
Charlie,
Boy,
we
I
can
wish
hear
we
you
could.
if you can hear.
I hear you fine.
Yeah, we heard
Thank
you.
you. All right, good. Thank you. So as we go through our analysis, we think that the proposed site, which is a condition of our analysis, lends itself to a certain type of development, although we do have commentary on the overall market, and we certainly analyze that in context of the proposed site. So the questions that we'll be looking at, the overall market, the size of the facility, the user types, and also the operational and demand perspective for the facility. So the next slide. Thank you. So as we looked at the marketplace, we compared you to a variety of other destinations. But you know, what this tells us is the market is very robust. If you look at the spend index, that's an indication of interest. Anything over 100, you're over average, and you're very high on the index. I think one of the unique observations is the tourism market at 68%. You have headroom there. And your ADR has opportunity. So there's an overall layer of robustness that I think will lift multitude of aspects of your marketplace. Your income levels are very appropriate and consistent with the entertainment spend index, and obviously the overall size of the market. What is your role and what's your place and what's your opportunity in that? Next slide. Ryan, would you like to take this slide?
Sure. So we like Charlie said, we came to visit the market a few months back, and we also held a series of virtual interviews, and we also distributed a survey to a lot of the arts groups and potential users in the community. So this is a high-level summary of some of the stakeholder feedback that we got. So some sentiments about the market itself. I think one of the strongest comments we got is that the community is really in need for a large gathering place for community events and festivals, and also art events and performance events. Simi Valley could benefit from more arts and entertainment facilities. We're lucky enough to go visit your cultural arts center. There's a great program going on over there, but the community could definitely benefit from a couple more venues and entertainment facilities. One of the things we noticed while we were in the market is the attractions that you guys do have are not highly supported by hotel rooms. The Ronald Reagan Library, you guys have high-class VIPs coming to visit your market, and they're staying outside of Simi Valley. So that's something that we would like to see evolve, especially with the new economic catalyst, such as an amphitheater in your civic center. And again, I think, as we've heard before from some of the community members, there's a ton of local arts organizations and events already going on in the community, and this would be a really great place to house those events and grow your programs as well. Specifically related to the amphitheater, again, there's strong support from the local arts organizations. It does need to be oriented and sized to align with the programming and audiences it aims to attract. I think we'll get into that a little bit later when we look at the size and the caliber of events that can be attracted to this venue. I think something that will be really important for the success of this venue as well is working with the region, especially the county. There's a lot of arts initiatives going on, and I think that'll really help and support this venue and the effort that's put into it. Sponsorships and naming rights and things like that are going to be really important to this operation. I think fundraising and donations are going to help close the gap a little bit. And again, we'll look at the finances a little bit later, but fundraising is going to play a huge role in the success of the amphitheater here. And again, you guys need a community venue for concerts and live performances, and a lot of the things that you guys have going on. And the Civic Center is a great spot in the center of the community to house those events.
Thank you, Ryan. Next slide. As we summarize the market, we observe the community theater and the fact that you have a high school that's dedicated towards the arts. That doesn't exist in all the places, and you are missing a larger venue. We was really focused in on analyzing the amphitheater market, and we didn't look at, a 500 seat or 1,000 seat fixed seat theater. That really, Thousand Oaks has that, and we were really focusing on this site in the marketplace. And our conclusion really is there are gaps in the market for a variety of arts and entertainment. There is a strong arts community. Your community is aging and people are having difficulty in moving out, but there will be churn in your overall population over the course of time, and they're going to have desires for more entertainment and activities. I think that the overall market is very attractive. The ability to have the promoters come into the market with other venues throughout the region, not just Ventura County, but Santa Barbara, and also into the LA market. The Simi Valley market would be challenged. And I think there's competition in the marketplace. We don't know what's going to happen with the redevelopment of the mall. I think Moore Park College is proposing and advancing their opportunity. And I think it really takes the weaving together to figure out what is appropriate for your market. So in that context, we felt that you can have a very attractive boutique amphitheater in the Civic Center and really spread into the park, and it can really be a coalescing of your arts groups. We see that the management and the operation of the facility can be fairly simplistic. We don't think that there's an opportunity, given the context, for a large amphitheater, and something very large really is inappropriate for the downtown setting that's currently exists. And we think is going to ultimately evolve and improve and intensify over the course of time. So, Ryan, do you want to add a couple more thoughts on that?
Sure. I think a big sentiment that we really want to highlight here is that this should really be viewed as a community asset and something to add to your community and add to the vitality of Simi Valley long term, especially for your future residents, and not only attracting and maintaining residents, but also attracting and recruiting new businesses and employers as well. I think that'll be an important draw to your community overall.
Next slide. Good. So in our judgment, I think that this would be a really appropriate first step for the community, or a next step. I think there's a great interest in something like this, and the downtown needs some vitality. And so we really do see an opportunity, and I think it's community first, commercial as a secondary, but still very important. And I think that the categories of demand that you're going to have are multifold. You've lost a couple of events, or they downsized or moved out. I think they will restore themselves. I think that you will have a host of annually repeating events throughout various seasons. And we would hope, just like you do at the community theater, you develop seasons and you develop programming that really becomes as popular as all the other things that you have in your community. We do think there's an opportunity. There's all kinds of events at all size levels. So we think the commercial and touring acts will be very apropos. I think that this will be an opportunity for you to have corporate and really work on your social integration and all those types of things, the benefits that you get from having arts and culture and education and those things woven into the fabric of the community. This is a vehicle to allow those types of things to happen. Given the site size, we kind of agree with what was originally done when the Civic Center was designed. It was about 3,000 plus or minus seats, and we agree with that. I think that that's apropos for your market. It's not going to be the world's largest, but it can be the world's best. And we really want you all to aspire to something exceedingly special. And I think that's what Simi Valley is going to distinguish itself on. Ronald Reagan's special. It's not necessarily the largest. I think yours could be something very special, and your town deserves that. So we're prepared to work with you all to discuss these. We do think that there would be the desire, if you want to have an anchor tenant. I think the community should be involved in the same way that you're involved with your community theater. So that kind of model is apropos, a really talented leadership person in the arts curating the project, and then developing their giving matrix and all the relationships that they would have with the city itself. We do like to see these be overfunded or have dedicated funding at a minimum. This is just as important as parks and recreation. It's part of that thematic for the community. And in fact, nationally, we're seeing Parks and Recs Department add a cultural element to it. Whether that belongs there or not, we don't want to say, but that is a trend that we're starting to see. So we do see communities creating non-for-profits that are kind of spawned by the city that are really operating these types of facilities, and they will hire a management team or they will hire a private management company. This does not lend itself to a private management company. It does lend itself to relationships with promoters that will come in. I think it also lends itself to benefactors within the community and corporations that would want to sponsor these types of events. And I don't think you have to limit those proponents for events to the geographical boundary of Simi Valley. I think you'll find artists that would come from the LA market and the California overall market that would want to play in venues like this. And we see that all the time. We do think it lends itself to be an event venue. So the trade fairs and, the cultural types of events, ethnic festivals that already happen in the park can be amplified with an entertainment aspect to them as well. We talked a little bit about skilled management. You need someone with a strong black book that knows the promoters and the acts, and also be very creative. And then I think, ultimately we see these layers. We'll look at the key performance indicators that are important to the city. Is it social service or is it economic profit? And those KPIs can help us help you develop a booking policy that makes sense for this type of venue. All right. I think that's our last. Okay. We did want to talk a little bit about the overall demand. When we look at this, we see 21 events. That's about basically almost 2 a month. We would certainly anticipate this to be well managed and well promoted. So there can be, depending on how it's designed, many-fold this number of events, but these will be the primary events that would be booked here and be audience ticketed types of events. We do see it having some contribution to room nights, and we do think it's going to add, when someone spends $4 million in the community, that will go to retail, that'll go to hotels. So it'll be a bump in the retail, but part of the portfolio of bumps that need to happen to keep the economic mainstream going. There will be tax revenues generated on the whole scheme of things. They're important, but they're not collected directly from this facility, so it's hard to capture them, but it's important to recognize them as a contribution to any resources that the city or a non-for-profit element do put together and invest in this facility. Okay, so we'd like to talk a little bit about next steps. I think we've really worked through the ideation. The community needs to also agree, and then we've set forth our information in our report, and that's a process that needs to start happening. And ideally in this process, a champion is identified that really wants to see this type of project move forward. And then I think once the community puts their piece into our market recommendations, it really becomes a project. And I think people can get very excited about it. So I think we've outlined the parameters that we would recommend you move forward with once you finalize the deliberation on the project. Ryan? So that ends our prepared remarks, Luis and team.
Any questions of council? Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Charlie, thank you for the presentation. Ryan, thank you for all the work that was put into this. We really appreciate it. It's a thoughtful report. It's useful. It's thought-provoking. And thank you for your expertise, having done this research for other amphitheaters as well. I wanted to maybe start with the last slide first and talk about your ideas of the next steps moving forward.
Yeah.
Going into any type of committee and design might actually be premature, would you say? If we haven't actually fleshed out the business plan, you start with the business plan and then go to design, or would you start looking at what that theater looks like now and then put your business plan around it?
Well, I think we've got hypothetical, more than hypothetical, we've got examples and we've got a size recommendation and we've got a business plan that's fairly codified for that size. What I think is apropos of what the next level in the planning is really defining what you want to have happen here, what it really ought to be. And, as you look at the Civic Center edge of, City Hall, it's kind of bland there. And I think that could be enriched and there are things that could be done. And then I think, as it folds into the park, what is that going to look like? So I think there's one level of planning still needed to really codify what you would like this to look like. Then I think it's really ready for prime time.
And I'm
And
glad
you're almost there. Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because I'm thinking along the same lines. One of the bullet points you had, number 5, was skilled management of the facility, and I want to take that thought and talk about sizing of a venue. I'll tell you that it's tough for me to think of a place that we would have to subsidize, and so I always look at the idea of let's at least make this break even on its face and let the city and the businesses run the benefits of increased traffic. At 2,500, 2,500 seats, all of your projections show this operating loss, especially if we have to use debt service to finance the facility. What would be the major impediments for looking at a 3,600 or 4,000 seat theater?
Well, I think that the physicality of your site is really the impediment. I think that the scale of it, the parking needs, the mingling areas, all are restricted unless you aid into the park, and we usually find that controversial. The other thing that we felt was you have a fairly low density area that's fairly attractive, and it's getting better. And as this comes, this would be a fairly large happening all the time, which is a good thing. Our experience is, though, this kind of site is a little too small. What we'd rather see is have music festivals and jazz festivals, and this being kind of the headquarters venue for that kind of activities.
Okay.
And that seems more apropos for your market.
Thank you for that. How much weight did you put on the idea or concept that Moorpark College is moving forward with a amphitheater project?
I would say that we considered it, and we considered it in context to what Thousand Oaks may be doing as well. And we also considered it in relation to the mall redevelopment. So we said our site's small. We have these 3 other events that are or could be happening. The risk profile of a larger one in this setting is, 1, physically not appropriate, and 2, it could go somewhere else, but that would still have the risk of those other 3 events happening in the marketplace.
Got it.
That's really what focused us into the recommended program that we identified.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I have a couple other thoughts and things, but I want to open up for other people to join in.
About Councilmember Litster.
Thank you. I do have questions and thoughts, but I also want to make sure that others might, I don't want to jump in beforehand, but if it's my turn, great. Again, thank you, Luis and Charlie. Thank you for the time and energy and effort that you and your team put into this. And thank you for staying up probably way past your bedtime. I know that you are 2 hours later, so thank you for sacrificing in our behalf. So I wanted to understand, I want you to know I read the report very carefully, and I could quote from most of the pages right now, but I guess I want to understand your definition of large versus medium versus small, because in your report, you talk about large venues being 10 to 15,000, and then small venues being 5,000 and under, and that at the same time, it sounds like you're saying Moore Parks is a large venue at 4,000, and so I'm trying to understand what is sizing, what the definition, how
Well,
that works.
that's the quandary we find in this industry. You know, the way they're laid out, you know, and in fact, Moore's Park really is infinite because of the way they're developing their shed, but they're really anticipating having about 3,000 to 4,000 more in a more traditional amphitheater setting. So that's what we anticipate happening at Moore Park. And other than that, and we do think that when we interviewed the college, that it is really going to be aggressively managed and operated if it comes online. So that's our interpretation of what we heard.
Very good. And in your report, you stated that you felt that they were further along in their planning. In my sense, that I would say that they are planning, but in a different phase. For instance, they have not gotten approval from their city council. They don't have a bond. The bond didn't pass. For instance, that they wanted to have. There's just a variety of things, and they don't have a dedicated. Their foundation raises money for scholarships, etc. But I guess my question is, do you have a sense from them of time frame? I mean, likelihood that when that's going to happen? Did they commit to a time?
They didn't commit to a time, but they did indicate that they were in a fundraising mode. And if I'm not mistaken, the person they have is a development person that's spearheading this. And that's really all we know. We can't make any more determination than that. But I think it gets back to your point of large, medium, and small. And regardless, 4,000 we think is different than the 2,000, especially if they have the size. They would be, I would characterize a larger than what we think would be apropos for your downtown setting at the Civic Center site.
Okay, I appreciate that. Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes and myself visited the Vina Robles Theater, which is up the coast, and you reference it on page 30 where you say it may serve as a positioning strategy for Simi Valley. Do you have a sense? I'm just curious what you meant by that statement.
Ryan, can you answer that? I am having a little trouble hearing the question because of a muffling on that one voice.
I agree. Can you repeat the question?
My apology. Maybe I'm too close to the mic, and that sometimes muffles. Let me try it again. What I stated was that Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes and myself visited the Vina Robles Amphitheater, which is up the coast, and you referenced that on page 30. Actually, I should say that the page numbers I have match our report, but maybe it's 4 pages earlier. But anyway, in your report. But basically, you state that the Vina Robles Amphitheater may serve as a positioning strategy for Simi Valley. And I wondered what you meant by that statement.
Okay, Brian?
I think we were talking about the way in which they've oriented their amphitheater in their community, and it was setting sort of an example of how you guys may consider operating an amphitheater in your civic center, the types of acts they were attracting, the types of events that they're putting on there. I think that's what that was insinuating, the orientation of the programming.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. I'll maybe come back to questions. I wanted to actually share, because this is a chance that I can do this without violating the Brown Act. So I'm just going to quickly go down and share architectural drawings that have been done by by a local architect and by a regional architect, just so that they have them to look at just some people's ideas. So I'm just quickly pass this out. Lucy, I have one for you because it's got part of the record stuff. Oh.
You guys are going to have a lot of fun with this project.
Now, and I just wanted to share, because this speaks to your second point. I think you said, if I understand what your response to Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes is that you feel like there's kind of a business plan in place, but we need to define now what it ought to be, the level of planning now. And I'm not saying this is what it ought to be, but I wanted to be sure that everyone on the council has basically, and to be read later, basically gentleman who's lived in the city for 39 years, lived here for 39 years, has done over 800 different structures in our city, and just the time that he and his development team put into looking at what he thinks would be a beautiful site. I'm not advocating this for right now, but I think there's some great wisdom in it, and I wanted to thank architect Robert Matola and his RM Design and their crew for walking the property and coming up with this potential design, which interestingly enough is in exactly the size that you were advocating, the 2,500 range, I should mention. So that was his, as he envisioned it, that's what he came up with. The other one, the last 2 pages are by Herb Nadel, who is a world-renowned architect, and it's just kind of fun to see what he envisioned in that space as well. So I just wanted you to have those. This might be something for future conversation, but I wanted to be sure that everyone had that material. I think, it's interesting, actually, as I went through, I will tell you, as I went through your report, I mean, it was very fun to excerpt all of the glowing support for this event, but I understand the need for it to make sense financially. And so actually I was delighted that Mr. Jim King, for instance, came forward during public comments and mentioned that he would be happy to help be part of that foundation or committee possibly to fundraise and raise funds. And I think if I understand your report, it is a conservative report. The level is if we finance it ourselves, as far as the costing, but if we had an aggressive fundraising community, et cetera, that would change that financial piece.
Absolutely. We're working right now in Tucson for their Fox Theater renovation. And, they get a lot of what we call unearned revenue. And it takes a good grant writer and it takes people knowing those funds. But you'll see that 30 to 40%, which is hardly included in our P&L, is generated from those types of sources, the giving foundations and things like that. And that's also the case in the capital raise. And you may not have the billionaires that will stroke checks for the whole thing, but you do have a lot of people that will give, I bet, quite a bit on a regular basis. You have, a really nice community that's like that.
Thank you. And you're correct. I think there are many nonprofits that raise a lot of funds for a lot of good causes. I would hope this would be one of them. But I'll stop asking questions for a bit and defer to my colleagues for their conversation and questions.
I don't have questions. I have more comments. Are we kind of ready for that? Okay. I like the idea of having the amphitheater. I think that's a great place. My biggest concern is financial right now. We already subsidize the Cultural Arts Center to a certain degree, and I don't want to put the city in a even more owing whatever the funds. But again, there are ways to get it done. We're not there yet. We don't have our largest employers are the hospital, school district, and us. I think we're the 3 largest employers. So we don't have a whole lot to go to. We have Waste Management. We have AeroVironment, who just got a new, really good contract with the feds. I saw that. I took a picture of it. My nephew actually does that type of stuff in the Army. But we never think about going outside of Simi Valley. So if we were going to do something, if we want to move forward on it, My thought process is we're in the 30-mile zone of the studios. Get them involved somehow. You know, get CBS, ABC, or even just the Fox Studios, Universal Studios, the ones that actually do filming, and maybe get some sponsorship type things. That's where we would have to go, in my opinion. We do have that ability. We can pull in a little bit different than TO. The college isn't going to get that type because I think the college also, if they were to do it, they're going to have some limitations on what they can and cannot have there, where we have a little bit more flexibility as a city. But again, doing a major fundraising campaign, capital campaign is hard. I've done it before. You know, I've been on them. We all have, right? Currently, the college is looking at, the hospital's doing a capital campaign for the Nancy Reagan Breast Center. We'd be starting a capital campaign. So I think there needs to be a lot more thought process before we move on. I'm in agreement to move on, but I think we have to really set, like we were talking about a business plan, but a business plan to can we even get the money to do this without having to subsidize it? That's what I'm interested in.
That's kind of what I see as the next step is, you know, we could work on what we want it to be, but also how we're going to do it financially. You know, do some research on that.
If I could put some wheels on that cart for a second, kind of thought this through. And again, Charlie, thank you for all of that background work in this. I did a little bit of other research. I did go to the big fundraiser for the Moore Park Amphitheater. I did learn that there was probably a large consideration of that bond going through as being part of the funding. I had the opportunity in my research to speak to one of the largest, if not the largest, venue operator and booker of talent and discussed the ability to have more than one amphitheater of a significant size out here in Simi Valley. And the take was, if Moore Park actually does build theirs out and you book acts into that larger venue, there's no way that it would support two venues because there's only so many acts. If that one didn't happen, he was in agreement with the report that we've just been presented with, which is this community would absolutely support a venue of size. So then it becomes, as part of that business plan or that operating thing, what is the right size of this? And Councilwoman Litzner mentioned Vina Robles, and it was suggested by that same person to go look at Vina Robles as a successful venue and its size. I did a quick Google Earth of that that venue out there, just not the parking, but just the venue and the common spaces. And they have 3,000 seats with an extra 600 plus on the lawn, and our space is actually larger than that space. And so we certainly could physically put in a venue of 3,600 seats. That doesn't necessarily mean we should, given where it is in our surrounding area. But I think it should be something that we look at. And in terms of that moving forward part, I might suggest that I'm sorry, I did have a quote from that same person that books talent, and he says, our view has been for a long time that Simi Valley, Ventura County was the right place for a new outdoor venue competitively and accessibility, and our knowledge of the ticket selling maps or their heat maps and drive time changes, as well as population moves, means that it's the right place for a venue. And so I think that I would propose then is that we had an ad hoc committee. I would like to propose maybe that ad hoc committee continues with the new set of questions. One of the things of discovery that I think would be tantamount to building a plan is discovering what is the probability of the Moore Park Amphitheater actually being built. And so try to have the committee answer that question with some probability. And then also then have initial conversations with to the point of number 5, skilled management, have some conversations with some venue experienced architects to get opinions on the feasibility based on the space and the proximity to the neighbors, and to determine what kind of management could be, agreement could be made. Edvina Robles, a management company, guarantees 30 acts of substance up there, and that's literally all they book to be viable, and they're available all the rest of the times to do community things. And then have that committee report back to the council to make further recommendations.
And I like that recommendation. I might add a little more to it if that were possible, if we were in agreement to that, to the ad hoc committee. I think Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes said that the probability of Moore Park, I'd also like to look at the timing of, because I mean, I think that they could make it happen in 10, 15 years. But I think we could make it, if we felt it was right, happen in 3 or 4 years, and meanwhile have something wonderful for our community. So that would be also part of it, not just the probability, but the timing, I think is one. The other thing I'd like is also I will tell you that purposely, I have not, I've talked with a handful of many people who are willing and able, and you spoke to this, Councilmember Kavanaugh, that you have capital campaigns and the nonprofits. A handful of people have said, when can I be on that committee? I would love to help make this happen and start raising funds, et cetera. Purposely, I have not formed or even tried to go to that committee because I didn't think it was appropriate until we as a body felt it was worth proceeding down another step. And so I guess what I'd also like is to start exploring that more directly. One of the things, Charlie mentioned, he said that he felt that they were further along because of their fundraising as far as Moore Park. It's interesting. I would argue that they are, that we have been planning just as long as they have. I've been in discussions with Brian just as long as they have. The difference is the way they have planned. They have announced and then started fundraising. Whereas we've had discussions to see if there's historical community support and then looked at design, et cetera, before we even came to this body. And so what they haven't done is they don't have, for instance, city council support yet, as mentioned, the bond, et cetera. Their foundation is, I shouldn't say conflicted, but if you read what their purpose is, it's actually raising scholarship money and doing all of that, and then other things. So they have, a body that has, anyway, there's a variety of things that, anyway, so they have started a different way than we have. They also haven't done an economic feasibility study as we have, which is interesting. They've just tackled it a totally different direction. So in my assessment is that we're on a parallel path, but just pursuing it very differently. Let me just share that. So I guess to what Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes is suggesting, I would also like to maybe, in addition to the ad hoc committee, is begin to explore the financial support. And some of these people have said they'd like to start fundraising, start forming that element so that we can see what money might be available, which would reduce our responsibility as a city if we were even to go that direction.
I think we have to figure out, what type of at what cost range is something that is feasible. And what, like the 2 samples that you distributed, one obviously was much higher cost than the other one, and I thought both of them were great. The one that was some seating and a lot of lawn offered a lot of flexibility. But I think that, a lot more detailed research and stuff is part of where we need to go. So I like the idea of the committee continuing. I think that's great.
Thank you. And I think if I read the report from Mr. Johnson, he's thinking the 7 million range initially for what he's envisioning for the 2,500, but who knows? It depends on everything, what you put into it, and it can be built in phases. That's the other thing. You do a little, but that's all part of the discussion to go forward.
Yes, in my opinion, we're not ready to do anything
No.
except continue the ad hoc committee now that we have this, which is great to start us off.
Yes.
And then work from there. And I do know a music promoter from Rotary up north, so I'll get you his name and address. I just thought about that because he does all the bands and stuff up in Avila and all that area. So that would be helpful to pick his brain a little bit.
So, Mr. Mayor, I guess I would make a motion that we continue the ad hoc committee to explore further this opportunity and get answers or information regarding the question, the bullet points that I pointed out earlier.
And I guess my point would be that we are interested in exploring this and moving forward because we think it would be a good thing. So obviously, the vote will tell. I think that's perfect, yeah. So that was a motion?
That was a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Call for a vote?
The motion passes unanimously.
All right, there we go. And I think this should definitely involve getting the community involved. Get it-
Absolutely.
See what level
So,
of interest there is.
Charlie and team, thank you very much again for your being available for us for this presentation and all the work you put into the report.
Well, we're very grateful for the opportunity of serving you guys and hope we can help you as you move this along. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so
thank you.
much.
Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, next on the agenda is item 10A, City Council Member Reports.
Councilmember Litzter.
Thank you. Just to give you a few updates from the past 2 weeks, Tuesday, October the 8th, I was present at the Simi Valley Ed Foundation's Teacher of the Month presentation, and we honored Beth White, who is a 3rd, 4th grade teacher at Arroyo Elementary. She's been teaching there many years, and she was a very worthy recipient. On October 9th, Wednesday, I attended VCOG's JPA, Joint Powers Authority Subcommittee meeting. It's our last one. Basically, the decision was made to recommend to the full body that we basically update the mission statement of VCOG to be very specific to broadband's mission, or broadband for all, and that a standing committee be put in place. And so I think you'll see that going forward with VCOG. And I want to thank my sweet friend, Julie Busco, who sat through the whole thing just to her first time, and she's a teacher and has to get up very early for her students. Goodbye, Julie. On October 10th, Thursday, attended VCOG's dinner at gathering, and basically I learned there that we have a new SCE rep that we're communicating with. It was a lovely event, and I will say that WM gave a wonderful presentation about the new natural gas facility that's happening on their, and basically that's happening here in our next door, and we can be proud of what's going on there. And so it was a very good presentation, a good evening. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes, for attending that as well. On Friday, October the 11th, I attended the 20th Annual Youth Summit. Our youth, in fact, I did a disservice. Our wonderful youth members put together youth council put together a wonderful event, but I want you to know that there were 3 students that showed up that wanted to testify in behalf of the amphitheater, and they texted me and they said they were told, they were told that the comment card list was full and they couldn't testify. I think they misunderstood, I'm sure. But I want to thank Jaslyn, Tanvi, and Nadi, who all 3 were here to testify their excitement from the youth perspective to have that opportunity in our community. So I told them I would mention their names when we had the conversation, so I'm mentioning them now. Wonderful youth, and they're also very involved with the Annual Youth Summit. And many of us attended. I thought it was particularly that the theme was breaking barriers, and I will tell you it was very inspiring to have Brian Bushway, a blind mountain biker, speak to us about what can be done with that. There really are no barriers that we can't overcome. On Sunday, October the 13th, I attend the Forever Found Freedom Gala that was held in Westlake, a great organization which is headquartered here in Simi Valley, doing wonderful things for raising funds for the horrible problem of trafficking. And they are trying to build a facility in Moore Park where they'll have a ranch, raising funds for that, for victims. And then also they're supporting an effort in India. But it was a lovely evening. On Monday, October the 14th, I attended the Council on Aging and had quite a conversation further about Meals on Wheels. I know that there's a lot of conversation going on behind here at the city about that and how we can be supportive. On Tuesday, October the 15th, I was a high school speaker at Royal High School, and it was a great experience. I know many of you have also had that experience, and also attended the youth council meeting that evening. And so it was, like I said, great things happening with our youth. On Thursday or Wednesday evening, I traveled down to Long Beach and attended with my colleagues, several of my colleagues, the League of California Cities conference. I attended a variety of sessions. I learned more about code enforcement, about some of our finance tools. In fact, it was very fun as I was discussing finance tools. I have to give Luis a shout out because it was actually the city manager of Palmdale who was speaking about some of the great things that they've done. But I believe she was speaking about some of Luis's great efforts that happened in her community. So it was nice to have that perspective. And also learned one of the last sessions was about what we can be doing to help our insurance rates, housing insurance, and some of the things. And so I'll share that later with our city manager because obviously our homeowners are really being hit hard. On Friday, October the 18th, that was Friday, part of Friday. Saturday, several things I want to mention. I attended the Senior Center Arts and Crafts Fair. Many gifted, amazing artists, artisans, and vendors were there. And I want you to know I'm modeling earrings that I purchased there at the craft fair that were made there. I want you to know that's just that I had to wear them tonight so that you could appreciate just some of the great creativity and beauty coming out of that craft fair. I also attended the YMCA's Halloween gathering where they had 3,500 kids show up. And they pulled it off. It was a wonderful event. Kids were all having a great time. And then from there, you could double dip. After you trunk or treated there and did the fun, then you could go over to Heritage Halloween, which we did, which was in the Strathern Park where we trunk or treated there as well. And that was a very lovely evening as well. And so great things happening in our community. And so I appreciate all the great things happening in our community. And that concludes my report.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The week of Tuesday, the October 8th through, the rest of that week was really busy for me at work. We had some major changes, all for the positive. So it was a very exciting work week for me. So I'm in a much better mood these days. I did want to find out, the county has now hired a new director for Ventura County Animal Services. So we'll have our first meeting on the 21st of next month. I'm looking forward to that. He did reach out to all of us on the commission and introduce himself and say hello, so that'll be a lot of good times. We needed somebody new after Jackie retired. Jackie did a great job, and I was sorry to lose her, so hopefully our new person will be good at the job also. Well, better be. The county hired him, right? That's the way I look at it. We haven't got to say welcome to Heather. I think this is Heather Sumagaise. Her first meeting here with us as our new deputy city manager, so welcome. Huh?
Second.
That's right, you snuck out. I didn't get to say it. All right. Well, Luis has been here a couple times, so I already got used to that. But welcome to both of you again. On Thursday, the 17th, I attended the Citizens Academy. Mr. Mayor was there before me, so he'll have it on his list too. It's always a wonderful event to participate in. I usually do a quick explanation of what the Police Foundation does, and then the PD does a lot of wonderful things with the canines, and then a high-risk stop I think they did this time too. So it's always a good time, and I love meeting the community members who come out and participate in that. They are so thrilled to go through that and to learn all the different things about the police department and to get their picture taken with the mayor and the chief. That's the big deal. So the rest of us aren't worth anything. On Friday, October 18th, I did my first ever trunk or treat at my grandson's elementary school township. Oh my gosh, what a lot of fun. And the kids, they're in every costume, a lot of blow-up costumes this year, which are hysterical. And a lot of Swifties. I saw a lot of little girls dressed up in their little T-shirts and shorts. They were very cute. But everyone had a great time. It was good to see the community get out and really participate these days. There's a lot of trunk or treats. Actually, we had a PD car there, so it was really nice. Casey Nicholson and another officer who I met that night. So they were there the entire time, and the kids loved going up and talking to the officers and such too. And let me think. Yesterday I had a wonderful Rotary event, and I think that's it for me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Friday, October 11th, I attended the annual Youth Summit, the Breaking Barriers discussion. Had a great discussion and lunch with some students from all of our high schools and a couple middle schools. On Wednesday through Friday, October 16th through the 18th, I was at the Cal League of Cities in Long Beach with a bunch of our other folks here from the city. I thought it was a great time getting to know the new folks here in the city and also listening to some of the breakout sessions they had put on there. On Saturday, October 19th, I attended the Relay for Life and was honored to give a proclamation to the organizers there and see that event go on again. That's the end of my report.
Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes.
I apologize in advance for the length of this report, but I was busy. So Tuesday, the 8th, I was at a fundraiser dinner for the Nancy Reagan Breast Cancer Treatment Center expansion, and I want to put a big thanks out to Anil and Lika Garg for hosting at their house. Please consider donating to this expansion. We're home to the one and only Nancy Reagan Center, and unfortunately, demand for the service is high, and expansion is needed. On Thursday, the 10th, I was asked to welcome part of the cohort of the Ventura County leadership. We met for breakfast at the junkyard. I gave them an orientation about Simi Valley, and then they went off to go visit the Little House on the Prairie site, which I still don't understand. Thursday, the 10th, I participated in the Clean Power Alliance meeting from a remote location at the Ventura County offices. No new substantive contracts, but please be aware that your bill will not be changing, but you might hear about a price reduction. That's a SCE's price balancing where they changed, or they charged more than necessary for the first part of the year, and now they're balancing, and they're going to be lowering their prices. As a Clean Power Alliance customer, if you're in that program, you've basically had a fixed price below Edison for the first 9 months, and you might be slightly higher for the next 3. Don't get too alarmed, and we'll see how it goes in January. Also, please consider installing batteries in your home. If you already have solar, there are some subsidies available to offset the cost. Programs through both Edison and through Clean Power Alliance. On Thursday, the 10th, I attended the VCOG dinner and networked with our other county cities and offices. As Councilwoman Litzer said, there were some presentations, and I just add that there were some really nice things said about Hugh Riley as he'll be stepping down as executive director. On Friday, the 11th, I attended and participated in the Youth Summit that took place at the Parks Department. Our students are thoughtful, organized, and engaged, and really smart. Our future's in good hands. Saturday the 12th, the 5 Rotary Clubs of Simi and Moore Park gathered in the morning and descended on the stretch of Tierra Rajada Road from our city line out to the 20th Year Freeway and removed trash. Many hands make light work and remove several hundred pounds of trash in a few hours. On Saturday the 12th, again, I spoke at the Seventh-day Adventist Church with their congregation as part of the Governments and the Church series. I don't think that was the exact name, but that was the topic. On the Sunday the 13th, I attended the Forever Found Gala in Westlake, and Forever Found, of course, helps rescue and support victims of child trafficking. The most maddening and disgusting part about this is that there's a customer for this product, and it's not over there, it's right here in our city and region, and it's more comfortable to ignore, but once you know, you can't hide from the truth, and we all must do something about it. I really want to say a great kudo to our police department that was represented there by the chief and by our detective units, and that we are excellent participants in solving this problem. On Monday the 14th, I had lunch with our city attorney, Al Ford. We ate fast, then we traveled together to Madera Elementary, where the Chief Justice Patricia Guerrero of the State Supreme Court presided over awarding the school with the only California Civic Learning Award, and she also swore in the new student council, which was freaking awesome. Let's see. On the Tuesday, the 15th, I met with one of the Council on Aging representatives about the Meals on Wheels program. On Wednesday through Friday, 16th through 18th, I also attended the Cal City's annual convention in Long Beach. I attended several informational sessions and enjoyed the vendor area where we saw solutions to problems we didn't even know we had. We got a good economic outlook for California. I was the voting delegate for our city. There was one resolution this year to adopt a resolution that stated our desire to have legislators in California to only pass bills that affect the city if it also applies to them. It passed, but without a quorum, so it'll be presented to the Cal City's board for recommendation for adoption. The best benefit of the 3 days is being able to have time to get to know, see in action, and work with our new city management staff, and our city is in excellent hands. It was great to see you guys so familiar with everybody that was already there. On Saturday, the 19th, I woke up early and brewed 15 gallons of coffee and brought it to the senior center for the pancake breakfast that was put on by my Rotary Club. Thank you to all the volunteers from my club and the Air Force Junior ROTC from Royal, as well as others that made it a wonderful event for Meals on Wheels program. And I understand that after we fed everyone, we still had $1,000 to donate to the program. Also on the 19th, my Rotary Club, in conjunction with the Junkyard Restaurant, held a fundraiser for hurricane relief. Several comedians and magicians donated their services, including Fritz Coleman. The initial numbers show that we'll be sending about $13,000 to a sister club in the affected areas of the hurricane. And on Sunday, the 20th, I got rid of some big items from the backyard at the Simi Valley Free Dump Day. And I want to congratulate the negotiators of both Waste Management and the city for adding an additional day to our calendar, giving us 4 days a year to dump for free. And that ends my report. Not bad, right?
Do we have a winner?
Yep. Technically under.
Okay. Well, my report is going to be short. On a 2-year cycle, I have 6 consecutive weeks where I work long hours, 7 days a week, nonstop for those 6 weeks. And I'm in week number 5 right now. So I'm surprised I actually got anything added here, but I do have a few things. Wednesday, October 9th, I had a meeting here with a Cub Scout troop who wanted to interview the mayor. And it was actually pretty cool. Thursday, October 10th, we had the Chamber Candidate Forum at the Cultural Arts Center. I thought that was interesting. Let's see, Friday, the 11th, 20th Annual Youth Summit. I spoke in the morning and then had to go to work. I wanted to stay for the entire day. I'm a big fan of that organization, and I couldn't do it. But it looked like they were going to have a lot of good things going on that day. And the only other thing I have is on Thursday, October 17th, attending the Simi Valley Police Citizens Academy graduation, congratulating all of them and taking pictures with every graduate. And that's the end of my report. Do we have any future agenda items? Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure we are going to be discussing the ordinances for Airbnb or looking into that, right?
Staff will be bringing something forward in November for direction. So I'm not planning to bring an ordinance, but.
I'm sorry, I didn't say, yeah, I shouldn't have said that, but.
So there'll be options provided to City Council.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to double check on that so that the community knows. Thank you.
We're going to do our homework first. And then okay. Yes.
I'm sorry, and we received a report this week or maybe last week from Samantha about the cost to repair the township road, or not repair, to complete the parking, curbing, et cetera. And I would propose that we add that to our list of roads to improve, and that we strongly encourage that that not just that report be put into action, just given the use of that road with, I don't know if that means you add it to a list, where you put it on the, I mean, what's the process?
Back for discussion, right?
Yeah, if that's something that the council is interested in doing, then we'll just need a second on that.
I'll second on that. That's my district. So.
Okay. We'll bring something back.
And I have one other item that I was thinking about bringing up. The intersection of Tampo Street and Alamo, where the new project looks like it's getting close to occupying. And my question was, do we need to upgrade the traffic lights in that intersection to add turn, lighting and so on? I mean, because there's going to be all of a sudden a lot more people using that intersection.
I asked that last meeting, or I asked Ron, and he said, yes, it's in the works.
Right.
Because I noticed it too. There's a left-hand turn lane going north and south, but not east and west, right? But I didn't know how soon it was going to be done.
Okay.
So,
We can get that information to you.
okay, thanks.
All right. Well, then, with that, I'm going to adjourn today's meeting in memory of Jan Smith. Thank you, all your diehards that are still here. I know. I think, it was just
don't have
nobody
to
but
be.
staff here, right?
No, we've got.
Oh, okay. All right, well, thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening.